And we live. What's going
What's
on,
up,
my
brother?
brother?
Man, what's
Hey,
good?
hey, man. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
It's been about it's been over a year, almost 2 years since the last time we hopped on.
Hey, man. Look, y'all got two retirees here, man. We out here living a good life. Hey,
Yeah, we
we want to come and holler at y'all today about
for
a few
real.
things. Hey, this ain't gonna be no little death by PowerPoint type crap, man. We about to drop some
Definitely
real
not.
jewels on y'all. Real jewels. Hey, my brother, go ahead and tell the people who you are, what we doing. I'll do the same, and then we'll hop into it.
All right, I'm Mr. Harris. You can follow me at Mr. Harris Official on all platforms. But yeah, I mean, I'm currently a college professor, retired 20 years in the military. I was in the Army, retired out of Fort Bragg. And so a couple things I like to do is smoke cigars, like to do bourbon tastings. And right now I'm not quite amateur anymore, but I do laser engraving, which is wood burning, photography, just various things. So I just recommend anybody that's retiring that you're gonna need a lot of hobbies in order to stay busy. So we'll get into that more
Man,
later, but you're gonna need some hobbies because even if you have a job, you're gonna get bored.
it's true. It's true. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, y'all got my brother over here, Mr. Harris. Went through a little rebranding. We out here. You got your boy Oz here, aka Big Sarn Kool
Oh,
Aid.
see.
Hey, OZ in the house. Hey, look, I'm also in my retirement phase in life. Like my brother said, picked up a few hobbies out here. I'm doing a few things. We setting up this leadership consultant business. I'm currently in film school out here doing big and wonderful things to make these videos and things better.
Congratulations on
And
that.
yeah. We're writing a book. The book coming out soon. The Thrival Guide.
The
That's gonna
Bravo
be coming
guy.
at y'all. Yeah, man. But hey, like I said, we just got on here tonight, talk some trash right quick, and talk about a few things. What we got on the list first, my brother?
To be honest, since I've been out, a lot of things have changed. And that's something that we have to talk about because I feel like, the soldiers that are still serving, they think that everything that's happening is something new. It's
Mm,
not.
nah.
Hey, and for those that's dealing with the budget and their unit telling them to spend all this money, that happens every year too. End of the year budget, October 1st. So I know that they have y'all out there ordering everything in the motor pool, exhausting that budget. But if you stay in long enough, you'll learn that they do that every year. So just be prepared. I've seen the uniform changes, the grooming standards changes. What's some other things that changed since I've been out? Um, so a couple other ones out there, man. I mean, within 1 year, things have changed drastically from when we were in. So that's interesting how fast that things that the PT changed. They took away the ball throw.
Hey, man, you know what they
Since I've
say,
been out,
man.
that's three
The
big
only
changes in 1 year.
the only constant is change, man. That's what they say. The only
Yeah.
constant is change. It A lot has changed, but a lot remains the same. Like my brother's saying, it's a big cycle,
It
and
happens all the time.
hey,
You
I'm
have to
not
be
gonna say that
adaptable.
you
You
have
have to
to
be
be adaptable.
adaptable. In the military, uh, the budget hasn't been signed by Congress. That happens every year. Uh,
You know when
should
the
we pay
last
the
time
soldiers?
you know when the last time we had an approved budget was?
When was
Take
it?
take a wild guess. President Clinton. That's the last time we had a budget approved on time.
I mean, I think that when we were in school back in what
2010.
2010,
Yeah.
there was a time when they didn't pay us while we was in school,
Hmm.
and so everybody was going crazy. That was the first time I experienced it. So you know, we didn't get paid on the first or the 15th, whichever day it was. But I mean, the new generation hasn't experienced that either. Just not getting paid.
It's it's gonna happen, man. Y'all gonna be all right. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out in the end. Oh, my brother, TPSGL. Hey, bro, we just got on here real quick to talk some trash and cover a couple of topics. You know, we're talking about change right now, change that's happening in the military. And one thing that me and my brother was talking about earlier was that regardless of what change happens, you know, there are things that we have to do. Like we can have our opinions. You know, we can have our opinions. We don't have to agree with something, but there are policies and procedures that we got to follow. There's policies and procedures that we got to follow. Like we were talking about how, you know, you got the shaving profiles, you know, with people possibly being separated if they have a shaving profile for too long. Like things come. Like I remember when I was in, we had the don't ask, don't tell repeal, and that was a big thing. Like this generation's big thing, and it's gonna work itself out. One way or the other, it's gonna work itself out, right? Um, it's gonna work itself out. One way or the other, it's gonna work itself out. Let's see what am I going to put up in here.
Looking to see which where you go to share this to Facebook.
You just go to Facebook, and when you go on Facebook, go to my page, and then you can just share it from my page to yours, so your people can see it.
Let me go over there and do that.
So, look, let's talk about these content creators, man. You know, we done created a little content in our day. You know, TPSGL done created some content in his day. Let's talk about these content creators because look, me and my brother, we don't always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we agree on one thing. We brothers, and ain't nothing gonna come in between that. So we can have friendly discussions. Derby, what's going on, my brother? Hey, this was the very first person that I met in the Army. Richard Derby, my brother. He's out in the 82nd right now as a first sergeant, doing great and wonderful things. But these content creators, bro. Let's talk about this content creation, man. Like, we were having a conversation about content creators, and this thing can go one or two ways. Becoming a content creator can make your career have a beautiful and wonderful start, or it can stifle your promotion. So we were talking earlier about these content creators, and I want you to give us your take on it, my brother. Like, let's say you a first sergeant, you got a content creator coming to your organization, and this content creator may not necessarily have a good rep because of the videos they don't put out or whatever you think, or you know, whatever. You let me know. What is your take on that, my brother? Like, how would you handle that situation? Because when you're done, I'm gonna give my take on it as well.
Yeah, man. I'll say this. If you go back to the time when I was maybe a staff sergeant or a sergeant, we didn't have, the big thing on social media where we were going live and everybody was posting stories and your entire lifestyle was on the internet. The perspective that we were taught was that because we were during a wartime, we had to maintain OPSEC. And OPSEC, for those that may not know, is operational security. And so we were taught to not put our entire life on the internet. The enemy is watching because we were going back and forth to Iraq so frequently. And it was being told to us that, the internet is being used to learn more about you. They had a lot of issues with plane jackings, and you couldn't wear your uniform on the plane. And we couldn't even shop. When I was at Fort Stewart, you couldn't even shop after 6 o'clock in uniform because of operational security. Now, that's not it's not a thing. Maybe some special ops units kind of still go by that. That's what I know and see since I was here at Fort Bragg. But the General Army, General Pop, they just do what they want. And I like the fact that you're able to express yourself in the new Army. I watch soldiers all the time. Even some of my soldiers, they rap, they sing, they're doing all kinds of cool things. But we still have to remember that you got to maintain a certain level of professionalism. Okay. Um, I've had soldiers when I was in, for instance, some soldiers in my unit sent me this soldier's TikTok, and particular this individual had a what they call a dead man's profile, and a dead
Oh
man's
Lord.
profile is where you have limitations that prevent you from doing anything. You can't do a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to joke on it because, some of those profiles are needed and some people like to ride the profile or the limitation just so they don't have to do anything. But the point I was making is that this individual had a limitation to where he couldn't do any physical activities. But his TikTok online had him bodybuilding, full body deadlifting, hitting
Say
PR.
it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
I'm the first sergeant. I'm like, okay, let me analyze this and not jump to assumptions. But there's no regulation on how to deal with this outside of having the commander dig into it and then communicating with your doctor, which is HIPAA. So as a leader, it's a certain way you can approach someone's limitation. You got to go through that the proper way, and you can actually mishandle it and then make it worse for yourself because you got to be careful with people's limitations and medical paperwork. And, I talked to the commander and, she had to pull him in and actually talk to the individual because there's no possible way that you're hitting PRs with your back and your knees and you're coming to PT when you have 5, 6, 10, 12 soldiers and you can't even walk. So those are some things that the new leaders are dealing with. And then, in social media, you got to be careful because, with the leadership, the president and different things, people have a strong opinion and that's okay. But you got to remember that when you're in the military, the president is in your command, your leadership channel. And so
let's talk about that interaction with that soldier, bro. Right? So
yeah,
you got a young soldier out here that's done figured out the system. And now at this point, he's basically abusing the system. And the reason we say he abusing the system is because you got a dead man profile that said you can barely breathe at your own pace, but yet you out here hitting PRs in the gym. So
I'll tell you what I did.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that interaction.
My approach to leadership is totally different from a lot of people, and I'm straightforward. However, when you're that type of leader, you have to be very smart, meaning that you can't just go off and say and handle it however. But
bro, hold on. Hey, look, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the soon to be retired.
There he is. What's up?
Out here in these streets, joining in on the conversation. Everybody, go ahead and give it up for the one and only TPSGL.
What's up, man? Not much. What's going on, Harris? I'm listening to what you said. Go ahead. I'll follow it behind you. I think this one is good.
It's out there, man. I got all the stories, man. When you get in that seat, it's different. And so later I'm going to talk about something else, but it's a lot of leaders I see online that they want to help soldiers that have situations. And that's something that I watch all the time. But the other end of that, right, is that when you're a leader, there are soldiers that actually make mistakes. There's some soldiers out there that do some stuff, and it's wrong.
Bro, tell us about the interaction. I want to hear how the interaction was with this soldier. Like, because you just
me. I pulled him in, man. I pulled him in. I pulled the troop in.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. People need to know.
I'll talk about the other part later, but I pulled the guy in and I said, man, listen, I want you to look at this video, which is his TikTok, and I want you to tell me what you see. And we sat there and watched his 2-minute TikTok in my office. He said, I don't see anything wrong with it. So then I asked some questions. I said, okay, well, can you tell me? So I asked him what your limitations are for PT. He said, well, I really don't feel like we have to talk about that because that's between me and my doctor. So I had already talked to the commander, and then she comes in and addresses it with him, which I could stay in or walk out, but he didn't ask me to leave. So at that time, we actually talked about it. And so once we kind of got into it, he was really trying to put it to where, we're not supposed to be on his TikTok and his medical is his business. And so he was also one of them soldiers that had been talking back and forth to his Pueblo, which was trying to chapter him out. if you're a leader and you have to deal with a Pueblo, you realize that the Pueblo is like general level authority up in there. You know, if the Pueblo calls you, it's certain things you can and cannot do with that Pueblo without jumping through hoops. And at the end of the day, after we had that conversation, you know, he actually took the videos down because I'm like, listen, guy, that's how we talk to him. You can't walk around with NCO stripes in your chest and then blatantly embarrass your soldiers and yourself in uniform online, and then come to work and then tell them that you're the supervisor and wonder why you can't lead. So if you wonder why you can't lead your troops and why they don't respect you, is because they're looking at your TikTok and they can tell that you're not authentic. They're out there running 46 miles, and if you can't run 46 miles, there's some things that you can do, and he wasn't doing any of it. And so, you know, in order to be an NCO, you gotta have pride in what you do, and you got to be authentic. And the minute that your soldiers realize that you're not authentic, then it's going to be hard for you to get them to follow you outside of just general military respect, because they'll respect the rank, but they won't respect the person. And that sucks because, you know, if they don't respect you, you'll feel that going home every day in the military. And a lot of young leaders have to deal with that, not being true and authentic. And then they lose the team, and then the team pretty much associates them as like another soldier, even though they have rank.
D, what you got, man? I know you got some burning ones over there.
So, here at the Great Place, trying to out process and retire.
Says you ain't cab, you ain't.
No, I'm strictly here to retire. I'm strictly here to retire. Getting that DD 214 on Tuesday, and I plan to come back on camera on Tuesday. But since my buddy Oz was on here, and I remember you too, my guy. So, two things here. So I'm gonna give some context by this story that happened to me today. So walking in the PX, going in the PX to give me a bottle of water, right? Not the PX, but the shop at. Going in the bottle, give me a bottle of water. It's kind of a little hot out here at Fort Hood. Are we back to Fort Hood? Is it Cavazos? What is it? It don't matter. I'm here at the Great Place, right? Because they can't make their mind up what they want to do. So soldier sees me in the shop at, automatically knows who I am. So he starts talking to me. So I'm talking to him, this, that, and the third. And so as I'm getting ready to check out and I'm getting ready to leave, before he said, "Hey, Sergeant, can I talk to you before you leave?" I said, "Yeah, I'll wait for you outside." So he checks his stuff out and he comes outside, says, "Hey, I need to ask you a leadership question." Now, normally when I get people that see me, they appreciate it, everybody. Normally when I get people that see me, they say hello, they shake my hand, they want to ask for a picture. But this took me by surprise. He didn't ask for none of that. He said, "I got a leadership question for you." So I said, "What's that?" He said, "What do you think about lead by example?" I was like, "What?" He said, "What do you think is lead by example?" So I think the answer that he was expecting was the political cliche answer, but the answer I gave him was the raw and authentic answer. So I said, "I don't believe in lead by example." And he was like, it was like he was taken aback. I said, "Because your example may not look like mine's." And I say that to say this, because we are in a generation now where social media is the new normalcy. So when you have this up and coming generation, that's their example that they see. That's how they express themselves, right? Go on social media. Now we could debate about the certain things that you should talk about, and I like what you talked about, my brother. You was talking about OPSEC, because that is key.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be going live while you're in a Bradley. You shouldn't be going, because there's certain systems. There's certain systems in there that the enemy don't need to know about those systems, right?
That's true.
So that's a discussion for another day. But just the general overall topic about the social media influencing content creators. Listen, I'm all for the First Amendment right, the right to freedom of speech. But what they don't tell you is that your freedom of speech comes with consequences.
Man.
It comes with consequences.
Whew.
Especially in the military, your freedom of speech comes with consequences. That's just like You have the right. When they tell you have the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. That's the reason they say that. They're telling you you ain't got to talk. You ain't got to talk. But just know, if you exercise your right of freedom, it comes with consequences. And I hope people understand what I'm saying when I say this is why the generation that we have now versus my generation or the generations that have came before me, there's such a generational gap, and it should be because the times and the seasons have changed. But
Yeah.
I will say this to the up and coming generation that are coming behind us is that remember, yeah, we live in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. We have certain rights and amenities that other countries would probably die to have, which is why they would like to migrate to our country and come over here and have a fair shot. But understand this, that your right to freedom, your freedom of speech, you are able to say what you want, but it comes with consequences. That's just like when you go before Congress or you go on record or you
Yeah.
go for a grand jury or you go on court. If you go up there and you exercise your right to freedom and you lie, it comes with a consequence. So we have to be able as leaders to balance between exercising good judgment. And then at the same time, I would caution the content creators to remember delivery and tone. You can come on and have a decent conversation and we don't have to agree to it. We can agree to disagree. But I believe a
Yeah.
lot of people get themselves in trouble because of the
Look,
delivery and tone of how they said those conversations.
you can't piss your command off
Yeah.
and then come to work tomorrow and act like everything gonna be
And act like
okay.
everything is going to be okay. It don't
You
work
can
like
say what
that.
you can say what you want to
Look.
say. Now, if you when you're I know what he's about to say. I already know. If you're right and you are bringing up a topic that's wrong and someone has been mishandled, I would never say don't speak up. But then a lot of times people are very opinionated and don't understand the regulation or the actual policy. So when you speak out, there could be a wrong policy, but you got to remember there is protocol to challenge a policy or the leadership. And 9 times out of 10, it's not on social media. So if you get in trouble, I see that a lot. Soldiers get in trouble. First thing they do is go online and they tell their story. And then you have a first sergeant sitting in the office looking at the same video, like, man, this soldier didn't even tell everybody that, they were snorting cocaine.
There's a time and a place and a space for everything. So I've been doing, before we retired the brand in June, 11 years. I've did a podcast. I've got called in the office twice out of 11 years. One was at Fort Stewart. At that time, I was a young detachment sergeant. My commander called me in and said, "Hey, man, you got to watch what you say. Eyes are on you right now. You got people gunning for your position. Blah blah blah." And it was nothing I said wrong, but I had a tough conversation. I said, "Well, hey, sir, if we can't have the tough conversations, in the office, where can we have them?" But at the end of the day, I took my commander's advice. The second time I got called in the office was by the commandant at the NCO Academy when I was there, and I said something about the Fort Hood situation. And I spoke out, and this is one of the 2 times I went against my advisors and my team, and they advised me not to speak about it, and I spoke about it. Why do I say that? I said that for 2 reasons. Out of the 11 years that I've been doing podcasting and social media, I've only called in twice. But out of those 2 times, there was a lesson that I learned behind it, which propelled me to continue to go 11 years without any other more scrapes, because I've learned those lessons. You got some people, man, we could be a little stubborn, man. It's just like sometimes, man, and I think that's debatable too, because some people may be like, well, no, see, that's what I'm talking about. You looked at as a weak leader. Sometimes they always say, and I know y'all too have heard it, you got to know which battles to fight, man. You got to.
Man, look.
I've had plenty of times like that. Pick your battles.
You got to know which battle to pick, bro.
Pick your battle.
Bro.
Oh, here
Look,
you go.
Look, man, look. I got a story just for this, right? I got a story just for this. There was this butcher, right? He had a daughter.
Mhm.
Daughter's out in the woods, and she getting berries and stuff. She sees this lion. She falls madly in love with this lion. So she takes the lion back to the dad, and the lion's like, I want to marry your daughter. And the dad's like, man, you know what? Lions are great, but man, you're kind of dangerous. I don't know if I want you to marry my daughter. He was like,
Mhm.
well, what can I do to marry your daughter? He said, well, your claws are pretty sharp. So if you get those claws removed, then I won't have an issue with it. So the lion goes out and he declaws, takes all his claws off, goes back to the dad. Sir, I remove my claws. You know, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage? He said, there's one more thing. There's one more thing. Your teeth. I think when you kiss my daughter, you just, you know, you might bite her or something, man. Like, I need you to take them teeth out. So the lion says, you know what? Your daughter's worth it. So I'm going to go and remove my teeth. So he goes and removes his teeth. He comes back. He tells the dad, my teeth are gone, my claws are gone. He chops his head off. And I say that story to say this. People want you to be defenseless. They will not respect you until you are defenseless. Because think about it. The majority of people that aren't a threat, they ain't a problem. If you ain't standing up and talk and in a respectful way and standing up for yourself, you ain't a
That's the
problem.
key
Don't nobody
word,
care.
though.
Yeah.
That's the key word. See,
You know, I'm
you
not
have to say
yeah.
respectful and then professional. And sometimes we leave that part out. We just get online and say it however we want to say it. And then we do it sometimes you can speak out in uniform and it's about politics. So
And that's my point. The point I'm making is this, man, is that there's a way to go about everything, but some people will view you speaking up for yourself as disrespect. And that's a problem. And that takes me into my view on these content creators. Like, look, we just had 3 separate views. You got my brother over here talking about how we need to do things respectfully. You got TPSGL up there giving y'all his perspective on 11 years of experience with social media, plus his 20
Right.
plus years in the military. My brother down here, 20 years in the military. My 20, you got 60 years of experience here combined, right? And here's my take on content creation, right? I feel, because I'm always going to talk to the leaders. I'm not down here like I'll talk to a Joe if Joe needs help, but I'm talking to the leaders, the seniors, right? If you don't have the emotional maturity to be able to look at a situation and say, okay, I see this. Let me have a conversation with this person. Like, you got a new soldier coming into your organization and they got a big social media following, right? You can handle this thing one of 2 ways. You can come in there and you can be like, you know what? I need to assert dominance and I need to crush this person and show them who's in charge. Or you can say, you know what? This is a great asset for the organization. Let me talk to this person to see what they got going on so we can see how we can leverage this platform that they have to catapult what we
that's
got
a good
going on.
perspective.
You know,
That's a good
so
perspective. Yeah.
and that's my point. Like, you have leaders that want to assert dominance and say, I'm going to show you who's in charge and I'm going to crush you. And the problem is this ain't just one of your regular run-of-the-mill people out here. This is someone who has influence. This is someone who may have close to 250,000 followers. And you don't know who any of those followers are. And I'm not saying that leaders should be afraid of these kids that's content creating and stuff. What I am saying is this: treat people with dignity, decency, and dignity. Have a conversation with them. Look at their character before you go to rush and judge. Like, they may have made some questionable stuff on TikTok, but maybe you're the leader who can get them back on course if you just have a conversation with them.
Well, you can definitely use a soldier with a good social media following because, on Bragg, social media is pretty popular for a lot of our fitness competitions because I don't know how a lot of other units are now, but I know Bragg has had more fitness competitions and different events that require social media attention than any other unit I served in. And so you get a lot of fitness influencers any type of influencer, but from my perspective, I like to see it. So, if I saw a soldier that was actually doing it, I would, ask them to let me see it, let me check it out, let me see what level they're on. Cause I actually learned a lot from soldiers doing content, soldiers that were rapping, that were artists,
Yeah.
their equipment. I actually had a couple soldiers that became artists outside the military and big time producers. So, they did a lot of our events and they were volunteered to do it to help out because it kind of allowed them to hone their skills. And oftentimes in the military, we have a lot of, good equipment that we could purchase for them to use. So like protocol and photography and then PAO, things like that. So it is a good leader to take the opportunities to learn about a soldier and use them, to your advantage in your organization as an asset versus seeing it as something negative. So it's a different approach though. There's a lot of leaders might not be in touch with social media. They may see it as something negative. But if you could become a leader that professionally knows how to navigate soldiers using their social media, I mean, they'll post you in a positive way versus leaders getting embarrassed or, taking pictures of your messages and stuff. So if they support you and they like what you do and they like that you kind of get in there and do things or find ways to integrate their lifestyle into how you lead, there's a lot of, good support out there that you can learn. And then also they'll come to you in a different way as far as meeting them at their level. So I've experienced that. I was you probably see me on a couple of soldiers videos all the time, but I'm just like, hey, I'm telling you right now, you put me on there for some, I'm coming to get you on the internet. I'm letting you know that right now. I'm responding back. So listen, hit me, hit me with the meme, hit me with the meme. Trust me, I'm hitting up Fancy Bear or WTF, and it was like, hey, first song response because I got something for you. I got something for you, and I promise you, you ain't gonna want them to see my response because it's some stuff top nose that you might want to chill out. So
I think this might go a little bit off rails. So, but I've always been one to
put
say
it out
what
there.
I'm gonna say. So, out of the 11 years that I was doing podcasting, the Army never officially endorsed me. There was conversations that I was a part of with senior Pentagon leaders. Let me say that. And I'm talking DOD, PAO, and CSA and former SMA's office about the potential to be endorsed by the Army. And I won't say which SMA it was, but they wanted me to tailor the show to something that I wasn't comfortable being with. It wasn't who I was. And so I'm saying this for clarity. I know somebody will take this and run with it and say, ooh, see, they even wanted the TPSGL to do da. That's not what I'm saying. Because when we walked away from that conversation or that invitation, it was respect on mutual parties. So let me dispel any rumors that anybody wants to go and take back with what I'm about to say. So the way they wanted me to tailor the show, it wasn't my character of what I'm used to being. Because I felt like even in the time and space as how I was hosting NCOPD Live, it wasn't too rah-rah. It wasn't too brandish. It was a show where at the time when he was serving, the current SEAC came on my show. This ain't no Rudy Poot leader. Some people probably will never even get a chance to meet the SEAC, yet alone meet. They probably don't even know what that is. They probably don't even know who that is. But this gentleman came on my show. So I felt that the ask that they were asking me to do was not conducive to how I was used to running my podcast. And so I told him I would think about it. I don't want anybody to think I'm being cocky. I said, hey, give me time to think about this. Let me talk it over with my team. Let me talk it over with my advisors. And I want to see about doing this. Well, it didn't fit. It just didn't resonate with me. And when I talked to my advisors, they was like, hey, you got to be you. And if you can't be who you are, then you're not going to have fun doing the show. So needless to say, I contacted the young lady back, and, you know, I set up a call to be on there with, you know, the SMA at the time and the DOD PAO and some other leaders that was in there, and we're on teams. And I said, hey, you know, I've built this brand behind a certain space, safe space for people to come and have conversation with. And I don't feel like I'll be able to continue that with what you guys are asking me. So that being said, I'm going to have to respectfully to decline the invitation that you guys do. But nevertheless, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the time that you extended to me. You would think after that, because at that time I was still a staff sergeant, you would think that people probably like, oh, you know, this staff sergeant don't want to take out. Okay, we gonna talk against. I never got bashed against my podcast by the Pentagon. No senior leaders came out at that time about my podcast about the Pentagon because we were able to see our disagreements and the vision that they were going for.
Yeah.
That just I wasn't the one to fulfill that vision. So I say that to say this to you know, hone in on our point. Leaders got to understand that just because a person delivers a message a certain way doesn't mean that that delivery is for your time zone, your timeline. It's at the end of the day, if the person is saying the sky is blue, we all know the sky is blue. No matter what, even if it's gray clouds in the sky, when them gray clouds leave, what's the predominantly color of the sky? It's gonna be blue. But we try to take it and we try to, you know, draw this narrative that this individual is coming to the unit and they're going to be a problem. And, you know, we try to dispel or cast this dark cloud over individuals because, you know, they're coming to the unit. I remember when I first came to my last unit that I'm a part of now, my battalion sergeant major, my brigade sergeant major, and my brigade commander knew who I was. My battalion commander didn't know, but my battalion sergeant major, I had people in my unit, some of the TPU soldiers knew who I was, but my battalion commander didn't know who I was. And the command got a email from the brigade command saying, hey, we need to schedule a talk with this guy, blah, 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 blah. So my battalion commander at the time, he don't mind me saying his name, I think Lieutenant Colonel Jessup. Battalion commander calls me at the time like, hey, B6 want to talk to you. Like, you know, what did you do? I'm like, I ain't did nothing. Like, what's the problem? So lo and behold, man, you know, I got connections up at brigade. Shout out to 120th. Say, hey man, what they want to see, what they want to talk to me for? I'm like, oh man, you know, your social media. I never feared like, oh man, what they got to talk. Because at the end of the day, I was like, yeah, I don't give you nothing to say about what I say on camera because I run my show a specific way. So I said, okay, well, hey, they either got to tell me, you know, they want me to stop and it's better be for a good reason, or they want to tell me, hey, you're doing a good job, this, that, and the third. Well, needless to say, they were calling me in saying, hey, you know, you're doing a good job. You know, we're thinking about doing this for the brigade. What do you think? So it can be used in a
That's
good
good.
way, but I think it just all goes back to a person's delivery and tone of how they say things. Because I've watched a lot of your videos, and just know, you know, the show ain't gone all the way, but there's gonna be an invite coming. But
Oh
I've
yeah.
watched a couple of your videos, and I'm like, you know, if a first time can get on here and speak freely and have those tough conversations, like, and be respectful, the delivery and tone is good. I'm like, I gotta understand not everybody is gonna see it like that. Cause some people are gonna be saying like, man, what battle out there doing, what the first sergeant out there, he shouldn't even be on, or she shouldn't even be on social media and blah,
That's
blah,
tough,
blah.
man. That part is
Like,
tough to
do you
transition
get this? Do
because
you get that? Do you get that with your
I,
peers?
to be honest, I feel that way. I feel as if like people may see it that way because I was talking to Oz and I'm like, man, it's a transition for me because like I said, we were on the previous thought process where you talk about less of what you're doing in the military. And so to
Mm-hmm.
get on here and just speak about things that I experienced and dealt with, you know, it's tough to actually talk about it because in the military I was more, worried about my job, not necessarily trying to get on here and share my opinion about everything. I was worried about what was going on in front of me, excuse me. And so I don't see that. I haven't received much. I received maybe one or two comments, but the individuals that made them, I don't value their feedback very well. So that's not that big. But then I've actually had a couple buddies hit me up for advice. Um, people encouraging it, people sharing stuff. So I mean, I believe it's a good thing, but it's more of if you were in that era, you have to get out of your comfort zone to get on here and speak. And I just like, I mean, and this is my experience, man. When I get on here, I don't take someone else's perspective and try to speak safe, because if you're a good person and you're a good leader, you're gonna say what you feel
Mhm.
respectfully and try not to offend people intentionally. But there's a lot of topics that have a gray area that we don't talk about.
What's
You know,
I think I said that was this statement I said one time. I said, never trade your authenticity for approval because
Mm.
you'll lose every time.
you
If you gotta trade in your authenticity, being your authentic self
you
for
lose yourself, bro.
for somebody else's approval, you will
You
never
know that
win.
every good leader that I've met, they always had something interesting about their character that
Hmm.
you remember that's outside of how they specifically led, but it was how they carried themselves or they had something that they always did, but they were true to that. Um, I've had individuals that you just wouldn't expect to be some of the best leaders, but some of the wisdom that they gave and how they carried themselves, they had little niches and different things, you just remember them for that. So it's not just, how what school you went to or how many
Hmm.
of these credentials you have. Uh, some of the leaders that I remember, they would just straight up pull you to the
Yeah,
side and
yeah,
keep it real with you and tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
People tell
man.
you what you want to hear all the time. I mean,
They do.
typically, you could be in trouble. It could be a mission, and somebody can tell you what you want to hear. But somebody who can sit you down, and say, "Hey, killer,
Coming up short. You coming up
hey,
short.
I'm
Yeah.
a, hey, I'm gonna tell you the real way, and I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear. You go out there and do XYZ. There may be some repercussions. It's
Hmm.
on you to choose the direction you want to take. It could be advice. All advice is not necessarily military advice, because we all grew up in the military as young men. So some advice that I received was life lessons. Like I
Hmm.
got married in the military and I needed marital advice. So leaders in the military would give me marital advice that had nothing to do with my career. Because if I was a
Hmm.
terrible husband, then it would affect my job
I
because I
leave.
was disgruntled, unhappy, probably
Hmm.
late to work because you had, you're going through stuff, you kind of get off your routine and they can see it on you. So I've had leaders step in and give me advice on my marriage that made me a better leader because I'm able to focus on work and not what's going on at home.
Yeah.
So, a lot of
Look,
wisdom out there, man.
we got these questions that my brother came up with, and D, I'm glad you're on here because you definitely gonna add a unique perspective to these questions that we got here. Bro, you want to go ahead and start rolling those questions out so we can hit all five before we get off?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Let's see. Got my iPad over here to the right.
Shit, I got you, bro. If you ain't got them up, I got them right here. You got them?
Yeah, I got it.
Bet. So look, he formulated some questions that's really
Okay.
gonna pull on our experience and stuff like that, and it'll be some little gems that we can drop to the next generation and even some people that's currently still serving. So
Okay.
I think what we say here, we're probably gonna end up taking this and cutting it up and then putting it into some little clips and stuff so that we can put out. So I know this next portion, we definitely gonna cut it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me put
All
all
right.
three of
So
us
what's the
up.
most let me know you ready.
Go ahead. You ready, bro? Go ahead. We're ready, bro.
What's the most important lesson that the military taught you that applies to today?
Well, one of the many, I would say organization. Being able to build a plan, and not only build that plan and propose that plan, but then execute it and see it come to fruition and be successful at it. I think a lot of times before I came in the military, I just looked at organization as like being somewhere on time, right? And my definition of being on time was if I walk in a minute late. So when I say organization, it's a broad spectrum, but we don't have time to go all into it. But I would just say organization, how to come up with a plan, devise a plan, execute that plan, and see that plan come to fruition and then be successful in it. So I'm saying organization.
That's a good
I
one.
got three P's for you.
What's
The
that?
power of purposeful practice. The
Yeah.
power of purposeful practice, right? So
Power of
I'm looking
purposeful
at it.
practice.
I'm looking at it like this, right? One thing that we learn in the military or in leadership at all is like the power of practice.
Mm-hmm.
When you really understand the power of practice and you understand, like, okay, practice ain't me just going to the gym arbitrarily and working on whatever I want to work on. Practice is me understanding what my weaknesses are. Practice is me understanding where I'm trying to go. Practice is me actually doing the things that are going to make me successful in the future. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just randomly, arbitrarily getting lucky and something happening. That ain't how success is made. And I feel like that is one thing that really got drove home hard. Like, even when we were younger and we were doing battle drills, like, it would get to the point where it would be automation. We used to call it muscle memory, and then we got smarter and they say, hey, muscles don't have memory. It's actually automation. Once you do something so many times, your body just automatically do it, and there's less brain power that you have to commit to that act. So the one thing that I would say is the power of purposeful practice.
Okay.
It's simple, bro. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
That part.
That's it. That's as simple as you can get it. We can all come up with a quote, and it boils down to your preparations, like you said.
Bro, we
You
we need some elaborations. You can't just be like,
listen,
softball pass. We need some elaboration on that one.
listen, bro.
We know what you're
Like,
talking about.
this is my perspective. I agree with yours and D. Um, but it boils down to your preparation, like you said. Like, you have to want to do well, and if you want to do well, that means that prior to whatever your goal is, your task, you're at home going through it. You're studying whatever that is you're trying to be great. So if you have to give a briefing the day before, the day before that, the day before that, you're rehearsing your speech, you're going through it, you're doing a terrain walk, you're walking through it, and then you're seeking out different individuals to give a different perspective, a higher echelon perspective, a lower echelon perspective, peer perspective, using AI, I mean, Googling, using resources too. So, you have to actually practice what you're about to accomplish. And there's so much reading and quotes out there that just change up the wording of what I'm actually saying. But if you want to be great, you can't just show up a lot of times if you haven't built that level of experience. Now, there are some things I feel that I can show up and perform because I've been doing this for a long time. But if there is anything in there that I may need to practice, I'll spend time on it to make sure I'm good. I mean, even when I was in the military, my commander and I would rehearse prior to going any briefings. We would talk it through. We would even say our briefing to each other, right? And so
Mhm.
she would say hers to me, and I would say, "Hey, add this because you sound more command forward. You're speaking with conviction as you're talking. So it might not seem competent, or the wording may not hit the way you want it to hit." And so we gave each other advice and shared notes. I would call my partners, man, and then you just go out there and be great. But you can't do that without preparation unless you have
Bro,
experience, extensive
do you
experience.
mind? Do you mind sharing your interview story? Because I think that speaks to um how well you know
Oh,
your craft, how
I was
much
thinking
you've
like, hold up.
practiced. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like
okay.
I was like, what's he
Oh,
talking
you've
to you? I'm like, what?
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. No,
became such a
so
professional in your craft that you you were given something that you didn't know you had to have.
yeah.
You didn't even
So
have everything that you need, but you were
this is
still able
crazy.
to execute on a level
Super
that people
crazy.
who have been prepared and practicing would not be able to execute on.
This is crazy, right? So here's a scenario. I went to do an interview to be a professor at a tech college, right? And so you have that process in the civilian sector where the recruiter hits you up, they schedule an interview, usually virtual. So I did that, everything went well. And then they said, "Hey, we want you to come down and do a interview." And so this interview ended up having 7 people on it. It was a panel. And it was the dean, the director, a couple of other deans from other departments, and professors that were on one side of the table. And then I walk in, I sit at the opposite side of the table, and they pretty much hit me with scenario questions that's I don't want to say rapid fire, but it's rotating from one person over here to another person over there. And there are 2 and 3 part questions. And the topic was Lean Six Sigma. So I was looking to become a logistics professor or an instructor. So the question was, provide a 5-minute class for Lean Six Sigma 101 or something like that. And what I didn't see was in the email that night, there was an attachment with a template where I could have made a slideshow. So he was like, "Hey, do you have a thumb drive or something so we can put your class in?" I was like, I actually didn't see that in the email. So I responded, and I sometimes on Google, the attachment is not visible in the
Down
email.
at
It
the
may be at the
bottom.
bottom or something like that. So I responded on my phone through the email, but I didn't see the additional attachment because it showed up kind of weird. And it may have showed differently if I was on my computer. And so I said, I didn't see that. And so I looked, I was like, oh man. And I did what you told to do in the military is, go ahead and start kicking it. And
Just
so I said,
fine,
okay.
basically.
Hey, I said, okay, well, I know this socket because I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt, and then I was previously a green belt. And so I pulled up on my phone, I went on AI and kind of said, give me an outline for Lean Six Sigma green belt 101. I looked through it. I said, if you don't mind me using my outline on my phone to kind of keep me organized as I'm speaking, they said, go ahead. And so impromptu, I gave a 5-minute pitch on Lean Six Sigma using just my phone with a outline. And they were blown away, and they went, so how do you feel about this? I said, honestly, I actually feel real good because everything I said to you all I was not prepared, but I feel like I was able to display that I can actually give information on this class or present this class with little to no experience. And so with that, that just tells me that when I was in the military, we sat on promotion boards all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And either as a first sergeant, we were sitting on the end of individuals coming to the board, like a interview, right? So you bring your packet to the board. That's the same as a resume, and they look through it just like first sergeant. Then they get to asking you questions. I went through that same exact scenario, but here's the thing: just like a soldier, there was a question or something that I wasn't prepared to answer, and you get stumbled up, and you have to go ahead and say it and speak out, and just speak with confidence on a scenario and how you will handle it. And that actually directly related to a civilian job interview and going to a promotion board in the military. And to me, I would say that experience is why I was successful, in addition to understanding the information that I was going to teach. So amazing experience. I was ecstatic walking out of there. I was confused, and I thought it actually didn't work out, but I ended up, getting the job. So
Okay.
pay attention to
Hey,
the
look,
promotion board,
and this the other thing, man. One thing about professionals practice more than they execute. When you practice more than you execute, your execution is flawless. And I don't think a lot of people get that. And with that being said, bro, let's roll into question number 2.
My bad. So, how do you balance being a strong leader and then still staying approachable?
How
The
do you
approachable part is the
balance?
key.
Yeah.
That's a good
Being a
question.
strong leader, and then also being approachable, because the word strong can be misled.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this one, then I gotta jump off, man. So wait a minute.
All
Let
right,
me
bro.
and first of all, anybody know me? This is Juice. You got some
I know. Look,
got that.
bring that glass back up. We know you drinking juice out of that glass, bro. That's not.
You got
You ain't
some
put
people
no.
out there be
You ain't
like,
put
look,
no
he getting
whiskey in
ready to
that
get
type of glass.
he getting ready to get out the military. He ain't professional. My answer to that would be, I ain't got nothing deep, I ain't got nothing heavy or nothing grand for you. I'm gonna say be relatable. And I'm gonna say why. Notice I didn't say to any type or any age group or any demographic. I just said be relatable. The reason I say that is because you have to be a well-rounded individual. People know that you're a first sergeant because they see it on your chest. You ain't got to say nothing. People know that you're a colonel or a general officer or whatever because they can see it on your chest. What we don't display to leaders, our peers, seniors, and subordinates alike, what we don't display to them is that we can be relatable. And even in situations where we're not relatable, be understanding, be open minded to hear what they have to say because everybody has a voice. So if it was one thing I would say, because guess what? People gonna know that you're strong by what's on your chest. Only way they're gonna know that you're not strong is if you give them reason to doubt that you deserve to have that on your chest, i.e., sharp complaints, EO complaints, DUIs, or um, not being able to hold your word or whatever. Like that's when people start to challenge you, is when we give them reason to challenge our authority based on the rank that we have on our chest. So I would say be relatable. Like I said, I ain't got nothing deep, nothing grand. I say be relatable, and you can still be a strong leader, but at the same time, you can be approachable.
Be relatable. I like that one.
Yeah, be relatable. But I want to hear y'all
Hey,
response before I get out. Now I got to hear what y'all got
okay.
to say.
All right. I got 3 things. For one,
Mm-hmm.
never have so much rank that you feel that you can't apologize. Right? Always be willing to apologize.
Yeah, that's true.
2, be
That's true.
transparent. I
Hey,
feel
that's
like a
hard. We
lot of
should have a
leaders,
whole podcast on that, being able to
I know,
apologize as a
right?
leader.
man,
That right there,
look,
like, you probably need to write that down before you go too
He
far,
got it written down somewhere.
because I'm telling you, because it is tough to apologize as a leader when you messed up, because you actually have to acknowledge that you were wrong. And
I feel
a
like
lot, a
that's
lot of soldiers
Very
ain't
tough.
able. A lot of NCOs and leaders ain't able to tell somebody they was wrong, bro. That's
bro.
true.
I feel like that's always been one of my strengths. Like I will be the first one to call out my bull crap if I'm jacked up, and I will apologize, and it won't make me not a bit of a difference because I ain't got that much pride in the world.
None.
The second is be transparent, right? I feel like a lot of leaders aren't transparent because they got a chink in their armor. And they feel like when they become transparent and that wall goes down, that when people see that chink, they're going to exploit it. So don't have too much rank that you can't apologize. Be transparent and find out what it is that people want to do, right? Everybody has dreams and aspirations and they got goals and stuff that they're working towards. I feel like as a leader, it's your job to create environment where they feel comfortable sharing that stuff. And if they feel comfortable sharing that stuff and you can help them work towards those goals, now they feel valued because you didn't have to come and figure out what was important or special to them. You could have just came to work and been like, hey, this is your job, you get paid to do it. But if you take that extra little step, like D said, be relatable. If you take that extra little step to just find that connection, to figure out what it is that's important to them, those people will follow you through the gates of hell.
Right.
I would say that I say this all the time, man. You got to be authentic. I mean, if you're not authentic with yourself, it's not gonna translate over to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you have young leaders or leaders, if they believe that you care and you show that you truly care, they'll follow you. That's all it is. Like once your card been pulled that you don't really care, or they can see that you're only doing this for a job, you lose uh, the support piece outside of your rank. That's when you lose the soldier to actually come in and tell you something, that you wouldn't expect them to tell you. Like, hey, I've been thinking about suicide. Like they'll actually come talk to you if you're relatable and you're authentic. And then a lot of NCOs, a lot of senior leaders, they wonder why someone won't come and talk to them because they're not approachable. So, you got to find a way to relate to your subordinates. And I think that just being authentic and understanding that everyone has problems. I've seen it all the way up to colonel where they, are going through something and able to talk to someone and actually get help. I've seen colonels, suicidal, and this is nothing specific to a person. It's just I've met people that have been going through things, and you would think that someone at higher rank sometimes would never have to deal with that. And then it takes a lot of pride for them to actually come in there and say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, right? And then let's say a whole brigade is behind them where they have to be responsible for them. But at this very moment, they're having a tough time. So it's not just the lower enlisted, it's not just the younger people that need to be able to understand that it's everybody. And if that is working well at the top and the bottom, everybody's transparent. Like all said, they'll be transparent with you and you'll be transparent with them. If you really care, you'll go by their house and check on them because you care. If you don't care, I get we all have a lot of things going on, but it's not a priority. But if something is going on with someone, you'll definitely go and check on them, because when you hear the news, it would affect you personally.
Let me say this before I jump off, Jensen. I appreciate the invite. So my grandfather, man, he rest in peace. He told me something that has always resonated with me, and I brought that into the military with me. He told me one time, he said, when you make what's important to God important to you, then he'll make what's important to you important to him. Now, I said that to when I look at my soldiers, right? If I make what's important to my soldiers important to me, then they'll make what's important to me important to them. But
That works.
you can't have that without a relationship and an interaction with your soldiers. Like you have to be able to have that one-on-one, because you just never know what people going through. And just a simple, and this is what upsets me, man. And I'm gonna jump off. We can say this on camera all day, but nobody really wants to say, "Hey, how you doing? How was your weekend?" And really see if that person has something that they want to tell you, because we're so up tempo. All we worry about is numbers, and I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's not important, But we have to be able to be sensitive enough to the point when you look at an individual and say, hold up, I know even though D was on camera tonight, he just didn't see this brother right here. When I tell you he know me, that brother know me. He can call me if I sound a certain way on the phone. If I'm rushing to get him off, he gonna call back. Hey, bro, what's going
Good, my
on?
brother. Yeah,
Yeah, he gonna
that's him.
he gonna call, man, and it's vice versa. But you know how that came through, Harris? That came through building a relationship, like being able to
Yeah,
talk to each other, getting to know one another. Nowadays, we just be like, it's just
my
cliche.
mine has
We got to
always
get
been
past it.
ask them 3 times, man. Ask somebody
Yeah,
3 times. The question that you want to ask them 3 times. So if I ask you how you doing, you say, "Oh, I'm all right. I'm good." Like, real. So how you really doing? Because I mean, well, I do got this. I do have this going on, man. I've been a little tired. Like for real. So what's really going on? And man, whew,
eventually they gonna tell you.
that third one is like, bro, if I told you, you would be surprised. It's like, all right, well, let's talk about it.
Try me,
But
try me. Yeah,
on the third time, bro, I'm telling you, ask someone that question, you get a soldier, like just keep talking, and you ask them 3 times. On that third time, they're gonna tell you more than they told you on the first time and the second time, because it's natural instinct to say, "Yeah, I'm good." Yeah, but you can look at them and say, "You don't look too good." It's not, I'm good.
do
If you
y'all
stop right there,
believe? Do y'all believe that? And I know, and I know this is probably just gonna be a rhetorical answer, but I think we need to talk about this. Do y'all believe that there are people out there who are hurting that's just waiting on someone to genuinely stop them and ask them how are they doing?
Absolutely.
You
it is. I mean, I I do it. I do it, and it's not anything. I guess you would say it's like something out of the normal. But have you ever been pretty much off work, sitting at home by yourself, and you just calling people, check it, like what y'all doing?
what
Everybody at
y'all got
work,
going on?
what y'all got going on with it? Like that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
It may not be anything extreme where you feel like you have these crazy thoughts, but it's okay to just want to talk to somebody and get your, if you talk to, if I call Oz, man, like, after we get done talking, I'm motivated. So I may be sitting around like, man,
I'm
I'm
hungry. I'm
just
hungry after I
out of
talk
it.
to him. We always cooking.
Man, I'm out of, yeah, he was in the
Hey
kitchen the
man,
other day when I talked to him.
What I tell
why
you,
I'm like,
y'all
man, you
see?
need to
why
start
y'all
some
put my
cooking
business out there,
videos.
man? Come on
What I
now.
tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, man, you got a nice kitchen, man. You need to start some cooking videos in there. You
Yeah.
can't taste it
Yeah.
to the camera.
Uh, hey,
Just whip
coming
something up.
to Fayetteville near you. Don't even worry about it.
Hey,
Man,
but
I gotta go call my little man, man. I'm gonna holler at
go
y'all, man.
ahead,
I
bro.
All right, my
appreciate it,
brother. I
Jen.
appreciate you.
All right, man. Y'all take care.
All
Yeah.
right, bro.
All right, we on the question 3, bro.
We got this is a good one. What's one mistake that you made as a leader early on, and how did it shape you?
Oh
Woo!
Lord,
One
man,
mistake. Many
bro.
mistakes have been made.
I,
I'll
I
definitely
know.
start off with the first one, though.
Mhm.
You want to start?
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, the one that always sticks with me is that being a young E5, and I received a female E4 that was in her 30s that had recently had a child, and so she had to deal with the postpartum, and then she has to deal with losing weight to get back into the standards. And so as E5 at that time, I didn't have kids, so I couldn't relate to, number one, I had never lost an excessive amount of weight. I was always slim, so I could tell you to go out there and work out, but I couldn't specifically tell you how to lose weight. So the other thing is I didn't know what women specifically go through during postpartum. We all assume as men, but until you actually experience that and see that perspective is gained over time. And she had two other children that were like toddlers. And so, as she was trying to get back into height and weight standard, as her squad leader, I was saying, man, just go home and work out. You should be working out twice a day. All you gotta do is go running. And she was like, hey, it's tough when I go home. I have two children. I just, had a C-section or whatever. And so my body is still recovering. So I can't do certain abdominal exercises. And then also, I'm not losing weight as fast as I want to. I'm having trouble sleeping because I'm a single parent. I got two kids. And so my perspective was always just work out because as a single young NCO male, that's all I knew. So fast forward, I got married and then I watched this process head on with my wife at the time. And what she actually went through and how hard it is to recover from a pregnancy or a C-section, or natural way. And it's not just an easy process and recovering from the actual injury itself or the surgery itself, and then having to go out there and work out with a completely different body. That's a scenario where I realized that even if we are in a position, we don't have the wisdom to actually lead. And I feel that's where we need mentors so that you can talk to someone because, that doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be a leader, but there's a perspective that you need from someone with more wisdom than you actually have. And this is not something that's specifically in a TM or a book that you can go and read, like how to deal with a female that's pregnant or just had a baby. And these are the things she has to deal with. So it's some scenarios that don't have a book answer, but you can completely mess those up. And that's something I learned from. And, I used that through my entire career on how to deal with postpartum pregnancies.
Bro, I feel like you spoke to a very important point there when you talked about leadership. You said you didn't have the wisdom at the time to be able to execute the mission that you had. I think a lot of leaders make that same mistake because we basically get taught to figure it out, move forward. That's just like the model. And one very important element of leadership is that no one is leading all the time. And good leaders know this. That's why they hire people who are very good at what they do to do specific things because nobody can be good at everything. But we don't get taught that lesson early on. We get told we're the counselors, we're the therapists, we're the physical fitness experts, we're psychiatrists. We are told to do all of these things and we're not necessarily given the tools we need to execute them. So I think that's a very important part of leadership is that a leader has to understand when they need to follow because you ain't always going to have all the answers. You're going to have to, lean on somebody else. And that takes me into my biggest mistake. And I know Griff gonna be talking mad trash, right?
Oh man, I'm reading this stuff now.
Yeah, he finna be talking. He already talked about my barbecue grill and everything. Hey, it be your own people. That's what they say, but it's cool.
I was wondering what that was. You ever chill with your barbecue grill, man?
Yeah, he talking trash about my grill, man. Like I was talking trash about them pellet smokers, telling them that real men don't use pellet smokers, and they've been on my top for it. Like, but God knows how long. One thing, and here we are.
I'm not gonna be a real man because I've been looking for me a pellet grill.
Oh Lord, not you too. Oh my God. All right. I'm team freaking offset smoker over here. But let me get back to my mistake, right? My biggest mistake was I was given a tool and I was taught how to use it. And that tool was a hammer. And like I said before, when you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Now, metaphorically speaking, this hammer is aggression, right? When I was a young E5, I used to hear it all the time. Oh, you got that 80-second mentality. You got that 80-second mentality. And no leader, he laughing because he was one of the ones who told me, right? But no leader or peer outside of that community, all of that Kool-Aid I was drinking could explain to me what that meant. And basically what they were saying is that, you feel that things can only be done one way. And that aggression was that one way, right? Like you're yelling, you're screaming, you're in people's faces, you're doing all of this stuff. And that was my biggest thing. Like, it took a very long time for me to dial that back and understand that leadership is a multifaceted thing. You can't treat everyone the same, but you can treat everyone fairly. And there's a big difference in between the two. I got the story that I often tell about one of my good friends now who used to be my soldier, Johnson Delano. Griff got to meet him at my retirement ceremony. And the very first time that I met Johnson Delano, we was coming back from a deployment, and we out at formation. I'm telling everybody, like, hey man, get y'all ass in formation. Now everybody knows me. Johnson don't. He didn't deploy with us because he came late. And he looked me right in the face. I'm a E5, he a PFC. He said, "Sir, I don't know who the fuck you talking to." Just like that. And at that moment, something inside of me was just like, "Hey, chill." I don't know. It was something just said, "Hey, chill." So I looked at him. I said, "Hey man, look, I don't mean anything by it. I just need y'all to get information." And he did. The very next day, Johnson comes to me and he says, "Hey, sir, I need to apologize. I have an anger issue. I don't like for people to talk to me in that manner." He said, "You can ask me to do anything, and I got it, big sir. Anything you ask me to do, just please don't talk to me like that." And here we are 20 years later, and we're very good friends. Like, I'm his child's godfather. I took Johnson to his naturalization ceremony. After that, like, we became really close.
Those are real good. Those are real good. I love that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we became really close, but I learned a very valuable lesson from, a junior soldier. Like, I had something about my character that was jacked up, and he checked me on it. I'm just grateful that I was mature enough to accept it. Right. So, yeah. Let's see. Griff back talking trash over here. Yep. So what Griff is talking about, we used to say he was like the first sergeant of everything, right? Like all of the ALCs, because like, hey, nobody else mattered because he was just doing the thing, man. Like, he was everywhere.
Yeah,
he was in transportation. He was everywhere, man. Everybody knew who he was. He was like the dang
big dog.
Yeah, the big dog on campus, the grandfather of the ALU, right? One of the things that he did was he had us do these not caveats. What are they called?
Icebreakers.
Man, no, not icebreakers. The conversations that we have. Griff, help me out. What were them things called? Because I still use them like right to this day, where we'll sit down and we'll take groups and we'll have them have these little micro discussions, and then we'll bring everybody back together. And once we bring them back together, they'll take they'll take the main point of the conversation that they had and they'll share it with everybody. But it's more so targeted towards the adult learning model. So instead of vignettes, he incorporated vignettes, and we had all of these vignettes where we just had all of these conversations and we learned from each other, the instructors, and people learn better from a vignette than they would a lecture because you're learning from your peers. But go ahead, bro.
No, I was thinking about vignettes. Vignettes is that's a good one. We had a long conversation about that recently about how I believe that in addition to how we do vignettes and things like that, we need to have that upper echelon communication with the lower subordinates at some point when they're going through school. I know that, the way it's set up now is that they don't pretty much communicate with officers, but especially in the same branch, I think that's a good opportunity for them to seek out, for them to get that understanding. Because I remember when we went to Hotel 8, for instance, and then, the senior leaders was going through it in a shorter version, but they were around. And I just think it's a good opportunity for them to link up, if you have ALC and then some of the SLC guys at the same time at some point, so they can get that shared understanding outside of just their peers. So that'll be a cool thing.
Yeah, that's a topic we're gonna come back and talk about, because me and my brother, we will get on the phone maybe once or twice a week, and we're gonna talk for at least a solid 4 hours with no interruption. We be having some good conversations. That's why we decided to come on and talk with everybody.
So we have to get on here and actually talk about some things, because if not, we'll sit on the phone 4 hours straight. Now I'll lead us into one of the last questions. Let's see. What's the best leadership lesson you've learned, whether from the military, your job, or your grandma? Leadership lesson. They put the grandma in
Mm,
there. um,
mm.
I would say the best leadership lesson that I've learned is best leadership lesson that I've learned. I I think this question led up to some of the previous conversations we had because being approachable and being relatable is how I eventually modeled my leadership. I have a lot of credentials as far as education. Most of the time when I was in the military, if I was in a room, I had the same education as the colonels and the different leaders, officers. It didn't matter. So I never led with, my education on my sleeve. I kind of met the individuals where they were and was able to relate to them based on, you know, their communication level or how they can understand, because sometimes we could talk over soldiers or leaders, young leaders' head, or your employees' heads with how much we actually know. And depending on how we articulate it, they may not understand it or be able to process it because we're teaching it or expressing it at our level of understanding. If I leave a meeting where they have, every commander in your brigade, and then I go down there and I brief my subordinates, they're not going to be able to receive it the same way that I might have received it. So for me, a good leader is just being able to communicate properly and also get your subordinates to understand it in a way that they can actually execute it.
Hmm. I would have to say, um, being connection, right? Building connection with people. Um, Hold on, Griff want to jump on. Let me send Griff a link right quick.
Hop on.
Let
He
me see.
ready? He charged up now.
Hey man,
Got him.
he got an Android, so it might not work. So we're gonna see. He finna get over here and be on my head, man. I already know it. Oh man.
So you got the Android.
Yeah, he finna be on my head, man.
Tell him we ain't in Korea no more, man.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Okay. I sent it to you. I sent it to you, Griff. So
I think he part
what
Korean as long as he was out there.
Man, I think the one thing I would have to say, the one lesson that I learned that stuck the most was connection. Like, we get to meet so many
True.
people in the military that you have so many opportunities to learn so many things. And the one thing that stood out to me was connection. Like, I really feel that I can create a genuine connection with probably 95% of the people that I meet. And it's just from observation. It could be something as simple as I walk in a kid's room to do an inspection. The not so gray beard. Well, it's a little bit of gray now.
Hello, man. I don't hear y'all guys.
You don't hear us? It's that Android. That's what it is.
It's the Android.
Yeah, it's the Android, right?
Tell him to turn his captures on.
Oh, he just put the Ray-Bans on. He about to hear us now.
See, I'm not at home
I
right
can't
now,
hear
man.
you.
I gotta put my.
You still can't hear us? Okay, he gonna go out and come back in. But yeah, man, just building that connection, man. Like, I feel like that is one skill that you absolutely need to build. I used to talk a lot about influence and appointed authority, and I don't disagree with having appointed authority. You know what I'm saying? Because there comes a point where you have to be able to wield appointed authority, but I think leaders have to understand that that's not 95% of the time. You don't have to back somebody into a corner. Like, I heard a young man say, people understand authority and control, right? And I'm like, okay, true, but that ain't people's preferred method of communication and dealing with organizations. Like, if you look at organizations, 55% of organizations, well, out of 100% of organizations, 55% of the people leave because of bad leadership. And that's that whole appointed authority. Like, I get it. Like, there needs to be structure there. You have to appoint people to be in charge, and there's a process for all of that. But don't forget the influence. Like, the way that you connect with people is a part of the influence. Like, John C. Maxwell breaks it down into 3 little categories, right? So you have your credibility. Like, this is who I am. This is what I stand on. This is what my name is by. It's credibility, right? You're a credible person. And the scenario I like to use is round table, right? We all talk about how we need to get our seat at the table. And in this scenario, your credibility is what gets you into the room. Like, you outside the door, you're seen as a credible person. Now they let you in. You sitting at the table. You at the table with the big dogs, right? Now that you sitting at the table with the big dogs, everybody around the table is talking, and it's your turn to talk. And everybody hears you, but they're not listening. They're going to leave that table, and they don't really care about what you had to say, right? So, boom, you leave that table, and now it's time to go ahead and put some of that work in, right? So first we had credibility. Now you got to go out and do things for people to get buy-in. Like, once you do things for people just because you want to help them, you're showing them who you are, that's the buy-in. You do that for enough people around that table, eventually, when you combine all of that buy-in that you had, it turns into influence. So the next time you sit at the table, people switch from hearing you to listening, and now they're backing you to get things done. So that's my credibility spill. Griff, can you hear us now?
I can hear y'all now, man, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. What's going on?
Yeah.
We've been talking trash about your Android. I use the grandfather of the ALU, you know, all of that stuff.
Hey, man.
Everybody knows you.
Look, sticks and stones to break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Look, man, I'm sorry I'm tardy for the party, man. I didn't even know y'all was going live, man, because I would have been here. But, you know, I have my football show that I do every Tuesday and Friday evening, man. But I was just listening to y'all conversation now. You know, my fingers, they ain't like they used to be. I can't type as fast or misspelling stuff. So I said, man, let me just get on here, because there's a few things that y'all had talked about, and I don't want to go back, man. But a few things that y'all brought up good points, but giving it from a different perspective, because I was able to go at different levels than you all have. And y'all was really speaking off, and DC talked about it earlier about experience, because based off of the things that I heard y'all say, a lot of it had to do with the things that that y'all had been exposed to. Because I heard Harris say a lot, because he grew up in the 82nd, and you already know, me and you had that same conversation about living in the 82nd. It ain't till you get outside of the 82nd and you realize that it's more to leadership than just jumping out of planes. It's way more than that. But it's about taking care of people. Because one of the questions I heard, and this is the one that really jumped when I think I jumped on, how can you be a strong leader? What was it? How can you be a strong leader and what was it?
How do you balance being a strong leader while still remaining approachable?
And for me, I'm trying to figure out how you can't be both. Because matter of fact, that's what I want. I need that. I need a strong leader that's approachable. And I think when some people hear that, strong leader means like what you said with Johnson, somebody that's cussing somebody out. That does not make you strong. In my eyes, especially if you're dealing with a guy like Griff, I have less respect for you. And it shows to me a sign of weakness if you got to use profanity, if you can't talk to me like I'm a human being. And I think if you had more strong leaders that's willing to have the tough conversations, not trying to be somebody's friend, not trying to be liked, because I need somebody that's going to tell me when I'm doing something wrong. Because if I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, I'm going to keep on doing foolishness. But I also need somebody that's not just going to be a picture on the wall. And, you know, we've been in organizations where you have leaders that's like, oh, that's him. I mean, I've seen the picture 1,000 times, but I ain't know who he was or whatever. And I prided myself, and again, not talking about myself, but I prided myself in ensuring that I was never the picture on the wall. And that's why when y'all came through ALC, everybody thought I was the first sign for the NCO Academy. No, I was the first sign for ALC ordinance. But I always made sure my presence was felt. I didn't go around beating my chest, bashing or whatever. And the reason why more people knew me as the first sergeant because they didn't see the other first sergeants. That's the reason why they thought I was the first. Who out there doing PT with them? Who out there walking through the classrooms and having conversations and stuff like that. I tried to give y'all the experience, somewhat of the experience that I had when I went through, but I couldn't. When I say y'all missed out on what I thought was the best part of ALC, which it was called BNOC, when I went through, it was called Common Core. 3 weeks of just sitting around my peers and hearing scenarios like what Harris said with the particular soldier that was pregnant. And he just assumed, because again, growing up in the 82nd, that I'm just going to push everybody hard. And I ain't trying to get 82nd a hard time, but I'm going to tell you right now, I done trained soldiers from the 82nd, the 1st Infantry Division, and I'm telling you, they all had their mindset based off of where they went until they got out of that realm. I was blessed enough that the Army put me, and I was in the 1st Infantry Division, the 2nd Infantry Division, the 3rd Infantry Division, so I got a chance to see different things. And so, man, I wish I could have been on here early because it looked like y'all was having a great conversation. I miss my boy D. I guess I'm gonna have to call him because that's the only one. We right here in the same town. I can't never see him. He too busy these days. You know what I'm saying? He a distinguished gentleman with it. I guess Harris had to jump off, man. But
he had to take call right quick. That question though, the question that you was talking about, that question we wanted to highlight. How do you do both at the same time? Like giving people examples. Like we weren't saying you need to be one or the other. We were saying how do you do both at the same time? And like, so we agree with exactly what you were saying. Like, we don't feel that you have to either be strong or approachable or strong.
Okay. It's I guess the way it was worded. How do you balance it? Because see, when you put balance in that, then now, how do I weigh this thing? How do I put strong on this? Do I be a little bit more stronger and a little less approachable? How do I balance it? And I think a strong leader I think they both one and the same, if that makes sense.
And I think it's like you said though, Griff. You said based off of what we've experienced, and oftentimes, like what a lot of the leaders we had coming up, like their definition of strong was one thing, and they were not approachable. Like they were technical experts, they knew regulations, they knew how to do the thing, but they didn't know how to communicate and connect with people. Me and Jamie was talking about discipline the other day when we was working out. And one of the things that we brought up was, I said, a lot of leaders out there, if you ask them to explain to you what discipline is, they wouldn't be able to do it. They're going to tell you it's having shine boots and making sure your uniform looks good and being able to do PT. But if you actually ask them to break it down, take away all of the jargon and acronyms and break down what discipline is and how you instill discipline, they wouldn't be able to explain it to you.
Most of the people that can't explain it to you, one, they doing what they seen. They never educated themselves on what true discipline is, and they base what they mindset of what discipline is based off who the first leader that they ever had or whatever. And great leaders know how to pivot. Great leaders know how to move their cheese. And so that's my favorite book, man, but it's the truth. When I came into the Army, I came in and my set of leaders were Vietnam vets. My senior NCOs was the last of the Vietnam vets. So they particular leadership, if I continued to mimic their leadership style, I wouldn't have been able to be successful as I got into those same positions, because what worked then, that was a different type of Army then. And I understood that. Matter of fact, they was drafted, whereas we was an all volunteer force. And at each level, as sergeant, staff sergeant, I had to adapt. And if you still operate at first sergeant the way you operated as sergeant, you ain't grown as a leader at all. And your time, you're gonna be exposed at some point, because you would run into somebody like Johnson who gonna check that chin. Because like if you stay in the 82nd, it's cool. I just cuss everybody out, and then that's a sign of a strong leader. I ain't, no pun intended, but I know you, because I was the one that trained them at drill science school. I was the one that trained them when they came through ALC. The people from the 82nd is the same thing if you was dealing with a Marine. You know what? They think they can kill everybody. They a supply sergeant just like the next supply sergeant, but in their mind, they're a trained killer. No, you have to, and what I found out, some of you have to meet them where they at. And because that's another thing, because if you try to impose your will on people as a leader, you ain't gonna do that either. You have to sometimes as a leader, especially with you being the more seasoned person, you have to meet your people where they at. And sometimes you're not gonna agree with everything. I didn't agree with everything that some of my people did, but me meeting them where they was at, it gave me a better understanding on how we can attack this thing and how we can shift the paradigm. And then the last piece is you have to model the change that you want to see. It's one thing to say you need to be this way and be that way, but then I like right now let's talk about it. I see all these people talking about how undisciplined these soldiers are, but then I look on TikTok and I see Sergeant First Classes and First Sergeants twerking and doing all kind of stuff. Yeah, how can you really tell me what to do? I have no respect for you, and I got it. I got my First Amendment rights, and it's my social media page or whatever. But let me tell you something. For me, I was a soldier 24/7, not just when I was at work in uniform. I always, and when y'all came through school, I told you, look, they ain't gonna say Green got in trouble when he went outside. They're gonna say U.S. Army soldier, which means they gonna say the same thing about me. Again, and how do I get Green and everybody else to do the right thing? Then they got to see me doing the right thing when I walk around. Even when you never seen me at the NCO club or none of that stuff. Well, we did have first sergeants from the NCO academy because hell, I think one of y'all class, I don't think it was y'all class, but one of the classes did a rap song because y'all know how you did the video before you graduate. And hey, I looked, hey, I need to see all these before they go up on the screen. Because look, I guest spoke at a ALC or SLC quartermaster class, and the Freaks Come Out at Night song came on. I said, man, y'all, I know you lying. I know, man. Right after that, I said, man,
what part of the ceremony?
This is when they, show everything that they did while they was in school.
Oh, during the little
during the graduation. Yeah, during the graduation. Freaks Come Out at Night. And look, you got general officers down on front. I'm like, man, I know you lying. And then I had to go in there and have a conversation with the first sergeants from the other branches, but as well as have a tough conversation with the deputy commandant and the commandant. I said, this represents the whole organization. I have never felt like you have to be that person. I think people get it twisted, leadership and likership. And I think that's one of the problems that you see right now. Again, I commend every person that's serving right now. I don't want to sit here and bash and say how my generation was better because the generation before me said my generation was trash. That's, and every generation say the exact same thing. They each dealing with different circumstances, different situations. The great leaders know how to adapt to those different situations. Over 30 years, I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen change in uniforms. I've seen change in standards. All the new, I look at social media, I see everybody upset about all these changes. Them was the same changes when I was in the Army.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Most of the standards that I saw, man, is the same standards that, again.
The same as the bill being passed for the pay. They do that every year. I was telling my girl that same thing. I was like, because she works for DOD. And so this is her first year. So she had never had to worry about them approving the government. The government shut down. Right. So she was saying something like, "What's up with the shutdown?" Okay. I'm like, "Relax. It'll happen again. It'll happen again next year. I promise."
Well, just to let you. But again, this is where people have to do their research. Man, they ain't passed. I don't think they ever passed the budget the whole time I was in the Army. It's always be a continuing resolution. All they do is they do that to keep the government running. And at some point, that's going to happen.
Said it was the last one that was approved was what, Clinton?
Yeah, with Clinton. Clinton was the last time we had a budget.
Yeah. So here, was y'all? I don't even know if y'all was born then.
No, I was born,
here we go.
He throwing shots. Oh, hey,
look, we know about Monica Lewinsky.
They didn't take that. They didn't take that out to the history books yet. Okay, I served under both of the Bushes, Daddy Bush and Son Bush. And so, but again, that's another thing. I will always remain apolitical too. So I don't talk politics, man. And that's about all the politics y'all gonna hear me talk about. Because at the end of the day, I think No, I just think, man, and just like y'all still got soldiers that serving that look up to y'all. And again, I know you retired now and you have the ability to do whatever you want to do, but they don't. They still serving. And I just feel like my actions, I mean, I can have a conversation about politics and religion all day offline, but on social media sites, stuff like that, I just don't do that, man. Because I respect those young men and women that's still serving. And I think I owe that. That's just me.
I think it's good sometimes too. Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro. No, go ahead, bro.
I said I think it's good sometimes too because I was the same way. I don't certain things you have to be cautious about. Not that you don't have an opinion, but just how to articulate it so it's not taken out of context. But I think it's also good to be able to talk about some things and still maintain respect for the soldier, and then also maintain respect for the government, the leadership that's in place, because we had to figure out how to navigate being in the military, being also voting and being political, and also having an opinion. So
I tell everybody your opinion. Well, your opinion is your vote. That's your opinion. Right. Again, I had to check. I will never forget this, man. I was in Korea and I had a major that was standing outside the door asking everybody who they was voting for. Man, hey, again, this is where true leadership come into play. I don't care what your rank and who you are. Come here. At this time, I'm just a G3 sergeant major. I ain't nobody. He a major. He think he can flex. I guarantee you he had a new attitude when he left that day, and he never did that again. That's what real leaders do. Real leaders don't sit to the side and sit there. But when you want to have those conversations, you got to also understand the maturity level of the person that you're having the conversation with. Everybody's a superhero on social media. So that's why I would never, ever have, just like, when I correct soldiers, most of the time, I never correct soldiers in public. Because at the end of the day, it don't go good for nobody. Most of those people that claim to be tough and rough, get them behind closed doors, and they ain't the same way when they don't have a whole bunch of people around. So I learned that early in my career. One of the biggest mistakes, and that was another question I think y'all had. One of my biggest mistakes, now that I think about it, I remember when I first got promoted to sergeant. I was like the hero. I was the hero for the E4 and below. Because So when I first got promoted to sergeant, most of the people I hung with, or most of the people my age was all E4 and below. And most of my peers were either 5 or 10 years older than me. And so I went from being one of the boys to one of them overnight by putting that sergeant on. And I never forget this, man, because me and my first son used to go back and forth all the time because I used to say, y'all treat these soldiers so bad. I was put in charge of formation one day. And this is where really some of my leadership style changed. Me hanging out, going to clubs and stuff, stopped. So one of my friends, who I thought was my friend, he was late for formation. And so, he come strolling up the formation. And I say, hey, man, I just, had to call you out of ranks and all this other stuff in front of the whole company. He just went off on me and said, oh, you think you're all that now because you assaulted. You think you all that or whatever. And here it is. I think I'm, trying to take care of my boy or whatever. And it made my first on day for me to be embarrassed. And but that was a teaching moment for me to realize that, hey, it's a difference between leadership and likership. And again, who I hang around and who I don't hang around with and the things that I do, man. But everything is about experience. And I guarantee you, like the situation that you was talking about with the female soldier, you had never been exposed to it before. I would tell you, when you would have went to BNOC, when I went to BNOC, we had females in my BNOC, and we used to have those vignettes, and we talked about stuff like that, so that when you went back to your organization, but you know what, when the global war on terrorism started, they shortened the courses. The course went from 4 months to 8 weeks. They took the Common Core portion out. Y'all did that online or whatever. And locally. And so it was, but I did ANOC. I did my ANOC. When I went to ANOC, I did Common Core locally because Fort Jackson had an NCO Academy there, which was actually a blessing for me because it was a whole bunch of HRC people there. So I got a chance to connect and network with a whole bunch of people for HRC later on, who helped me to be able to help many of my soldiers later on in my career. But let me shut up, man. I don't want to come on here and take y'all show over, man.
Common Core is actually good though. I like that. I
good.
like you saying that because I went to Common Core for BNOC, but I actually did that on Fort Stewart. But the cool thing about Common Core is that you have all these
different MOS.
all MOSs in one place, and you receive a lot of different perspective, because that's my thing about going to different military schools, that we're all exactly the same. We're all trying to go to one. Our next position is the same position. We've all done, to a certain extent, very similar jobs. And so it kind of limits the variety in the area. So I always like to go out and then attend, like Battle Staff was a good one, where you attended a class that had a lot of different experiences across the Army. People working in the Pentagon was in my actual class. I was like, damn, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. You got maintenance guy. But here's the thing again, because when you came to BNOC, it was all technical though. Because even though we was all the same on MOS when I went to BNOC, we still, you had 82nd, you had 101st, you had people from crew. We were still, so it was all of us in our own little world thought that was it. That's all that happened until you start hearing, okay, this 63 again, 91. I'm really showing my age when I say 63. But this 63 over here, they're a wheel mechanic just like me, but I ain't never even heard of none of that. I'm gonna be honest, man. ALC, SLC, the technical phase for me, I'm just gonna be honest, was a waste of time. Because most of the time as a mechanic, unless you stayed in the same unit you was in, you was basically OJT every time you went to another organization, because it was different equipment every time you went.
We talked about that on the phone the other day. Same exact conversation.
Yeah.
They were always say you'll learn at your unit.
Yeah, and it's a true statement. I mean, you can sit there and try to teach me the technical phase in those schools, but some of the equipment that they had at those schools is outdated. You get to your organization, they got new equipment. Hell, the privates and AIT probably had better equipment than we had at some of those schools.
So I got a different take, because when I went to ALC, my perspective was a little bit different. I was coming to ALC and I didn't understand how to read wiring schematics. I didn't understand anything electrical. And like, I'm a staff sergeant at this point because, I had been taken out of the motor pool. And even like once, like I left the motor pool as a PFC. I didn't go back into the motor pool until like, I was like I don't know, I had been a staff sergeant for like 2 years already, coming off of deployment. So that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, like getting all of those wiring schematics, learning how to do that. And then I was able to go back to the unit, and I get back to the unit. And this was the time where they switched motor sergeants from being staff sergeants to sergeant first classes. I was able to go back to the unit, and now I had a foundation that I could work from. Like I could pick up any wiring schematic from that point, and now I could read it because nobody ever taught us how to do it, And on the light side, like Gary came up on the heavy side, so his experience was completely different from mine. But on the light side, on the light side, people don't care about equipment. They don't care about equipment until that ESR get crazy and some commander get punched in the head. And then
I was in the cab. I was in 1 quarter cab. Look, the squadron commander would he'd drive his TMP vehicle out to Hornsfield and grab the shoot tank tape late and hop back in his TMP vehicle. He would never drive the wheeled vehicles and stuff he had, man. And so you're absolutely right. For some people it was, but for mostly with me, especially during those times of my military career, I was a shop foreman. I was a motor sergeant. So that particular, for me, the equipment was, what I got the most out of ANOC and BNOC for me was the Common Core piece, because it helped with my leadership. The technical aspect of it for me, I get it. I'm exposed to it every day. I'm running reports. I'm sitting in these meetings and stuff. But the leadership aspect of it, to hear how other people do it at different locations, man, that was the most beneficial piece for me, because now I had something else to add to my toolkit when I got back to the organizations.
I think it's worth looking into for them because, you remember, I know that recently the warrant officers, they've dug into that, where if you're heavy, you end up going to serve at a heavy unit. And because of the issues they've been having with guys showing up and just completely clueless about, those type of platforms. And so I actually seen that happen a lot of times. I'm like, I think you can kind of go wheel to a certain extent until maybe you get to the MLRS or some of the HEMIT, but it's very hard to switch over such heavy platforms to light or light all the way heavy or something like that. And so I think it'll be worth looking at to, when you go to school, number one, they got to have updated equipment. But, traditionally, kind of learning what you have at your organization and seeing who's in the class to kind of send them in the right direction. Because I didn't see a purpose in learning something at school, and then there is never a time when I can apply that at the organization.
It's about talent management. Again, I understand what they was trying to do because, again, we say the military is a profession. So in order for it to be considered a profession, what the lawyers have to do, or what do doctors have to do every year? They have to get recertified. They got to go do classes and stuff like that. And so we had those courses there. But at the same time, I will say this is what technology didn't help the military out. There was a time, and I mean, they used to have this schematic that showed the pipeline on how to get stuff changed in schools and military schools. By the time you started to fix till it get to the end of the other pipeline, it's been 5 years. And then whatever it was you started is already outdated. Now they have the ability to make changes instantly, which that's a beautiful thing. But I would also say talent management comes into play. And also it's people got to stop. They got to start writing real report cards, because we put people in situations and positions that they shouldn't be in. We at the end of the day, because again, we don't want to be that leader that.
Oh, you'll learn that at school. You'll be like, man, what is this dude?
Well, and it's at every level. I can tell you that right now. When I went to the Sergeant Major Academy, I mean, my expectations of the academy, and when I got there was by the time it was completely different. I was like, wow. So now I see why these soldiers are the way they are, because this person right here, because of the way they are. I mean, you wouldn't, but when I got to the academy, it was people that ain't never wrote a paper before. But I guarantee they telling people they need to go to college. But they, it's obvious they can't do accounting state. I done seen it at that level. So you got to think they done made it to this level. How many people underneath them was exposed to that leadership? And they carried that same type of leadership. I used to tell people, man, I love being a drill sergeant. It was beautiful. But I love being a drill sergeant leader more, because as a drill sergeant, I got 60 soldiers every 8 weeks. But as a drill sergeant leader, I got 17 NCOs. And if I did it right, each one of them 17 is going to come in contact with 60. That's why I love being the first sergeant at the NCO Academy, because basically throughout the years, about 300 people sitting out in front of that formation. I have an opportunity to shape the next generation of ordnance non-commissioned officers if I do it right. And so I just think that sometimes people don't educate themselves on things. They wait for other people, because Harris, I heard you say this too, that we need mentors. Closed mouths don't get fed. It's a difference between teaching and coaching and mentoring, because everybody ain't a mentor. I always say this for anybody watching. It is the mentee's responsibility to identify who their mentor is, not somebody assigning somebody to, because everybody. Normally you want somebody to mentor you because you see something in that person that you say, you know what, I like the way they move. I like the way they operate. I want a piece of that. Or they done been into a direction that you've been to. I done been in organizations where they so-called assign people mentors and they go completely wrong. They was not a good fit. Everybody that I call a mentor was somebody. I'll give you an example. Yes, I was Green's first son. I was your first son when you came through NCO Academy. But guess who reached out to me and say, hey, can you be my mentor? I didn't call Green. Green called me. Green started this relationship, and this relationship has been this way. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Sometimes that relationship, the mentee can become the mentor. I done seen that too. And that's a beautiful thing.
That's tough.
But no, I wouldn't say it's tough, man, because at some point, some people get to a point and they okay with where they at. But some people want to keep on growing, and that's okay too. Green, we both John Maxwell guys. So John Maxwell got the law of the lead. And your people can only grow to the level of knowledge and experience you have. And if you're a 6, They can't go no higher than a 5. And here's the thing. That's if you want your people to become a 6 or a 7, then guess what you got to do? You got to become a 7 or an 8. And if you're not willing to become a 7 or 8, guess what? That young green over there is hungry. One or two things, he gonna become disgruntled, or he gonna go find a job somewhere else because he can't grow in this organization. And that's just the nature of the beast. A lot of great talent, man. I knew it was times that I had gave people all that I can give them, but I know somebody else that can give them a little bit more, and I was never afraid to allow them to go. I don't know how many times I got beat up for letting people to go be warrant officers. The Army, I came in and say, be all you can be. I think they'll be a great warrant officer. Matter of fact, I think it's a force multiplier to have Sergeant Green over there now, Chief Green. Although that's a Griffinism, I guess.
That was, that during that time it was good because when you select someone that you think will be a good warrant officer versus people going to become a warrant officer because it's easy. I think that perspective is because I know that beforehand it wasn't as easy to become any officer. It wasn't as easy as it is now, or the numbers wasn't as low for specifically warrant officer. So now I see a lot of guys. It's like, hey, I'll just go because they're picking up a lot of people, and I either don't want to wait for Sergeant First Class, or I know they're going to pick me up. I think it was a 90% selection rate for warrant officers when I was leaving. Well,
in the military, timing is everything. So, I mean, again, I can't be mad at somebody if they go do that, but it ebbs and flows, because if it's at 90% right now, trust and believe it'll come. I remember it was a time that they didn't select nobody to go be a sergeant major for about almost out of the ordnance side for 3-4 years because he was top heavy. And then there was a time, and so it's a second and third order effect of that. Just like when people don't believe this, like when I retired, you know what that just did? That just created 100 master sergeants. It take 100 master sergeants to make one sergeant major. How is that possible? Well, because by the time they get looked at for sergeant major, some of them are retired, medically boarded out of the military, and all this other stuff. So it's a trickle effect. So if you promote these guys to master sergeant, then guess what? That means there's a whole bunch of sergeant first classes got to be promoted. So it's second and third effects to everything too. So timing is everything. So some people just happen to be around at the time that, hey, they need one officer. Then it comes a time when they don't need them, and it's a little harder, and they need more waivers and stuff like that. Anybody that I knew, I would always ask them why. Why do you want to become one officer? Be honest with me, because most of my guys, when they did it, I'm the one that's going to tie them to a CW4 or CW5 that's going to get them the recommendation. Right. If you go, that's my name on the line when you go out there by saying, So I feel good in knowing that it's quite a few guys and girls out there that was able to go and be successful at becoming a warrant officer because of the recommendation, man. But if they doing it for all the wrong reasons, at some point it's gonna catch up with them.
That's true.
Well, we got one more question on here that we didn't ask yet.
Okay, well let me shut up.
No, you. I'm glad you're here. We glad to have you. So, what separates a good leader from a great one?
I like that, man.
A good leader from a great leader.
Harry, I'll let you go first, man. I give you an example of one I know who I model my leadership.
I'm still putting it in perspective.
So let me show you what I consider a good leader. So when I was young Sergeant E5 Griffin, I was at Fort Hood, and I don't know if y'all ever heard the name of a guy, but his name was J.D. Sparks. He retired as a TRADOC sergeant major. He was my first sergeant, and he was a soldier. A couple of things he taught. One, he taught me not to judge a book by its cover. I'm just gonna be honest. When I first saw this guy, I said, "There's no way that we gonna be good." But he turned out to be one of the best leaders I ever had, and I'll leave it at that. But what made him a great leader to me He knew every one of his soldiers in that formation, not just what their job was. He knew that my wife, he knew I had to go to the field. We went to the field every month. And so the week of my wife, well, let me roll it back a little bit. Me and my ex-wife, she was still in Korea the first 3 months of her pregnancy. The first 3 months of her pregnancy, we was not together. So the day that I'm supposed to go to BNOC, she on her way back to the States, which means now I'm gonna be away from her for 4 months, which means I'm basically missed the whole pregnancy, which I told first son, I said, first son, I cannot go to school. If I go to school, I'm gonna be divorced. Not one time, but 3 times he stood on the carpet with me because, okay, they did a deferment, blah, blah. I said, I cannot go to this school until my daughter is born. He stood on that carpet with me 3 times. So the week before my daughter was due, my platoon sergeant say, if I got to go to the field, everybody got to go to the field. Even though we do this every month, that was his mentality. So I'm out in the field. Who pulls up? JD Sparks. Why are you out here? Ain't your wife due? Roger, first son, my wife is due. Go get your stuff. He put me in the vehicle, took me back to the rear. I need you to pull staff duty. But if she had that baby, you leave. My daughter wasn't born that week. She was born the following week. Who was the first person at the hospital when my daughter was born? It wasn't my platoon son that made me go to the field. It was JD Spark and his wife. My wife was in labor for like almost 72 hours. So I hadn't slept in 3 days. They sent me home. I went home and took a nap for about 3 hours. I come back. Guess who's still at the hospital with my wife and my daughter? JD Sparks and his wife. But the story don't stop there. So then I go to BNOC. The unit does a unit move from Fort Hood to Schweinfurt, Germany. JD Sparks gets selected to go to the Sergeant Major Academy. He does not have to go. But our unit we did a unit move because we getting ready to go to Bosnia. He goes. I get to Germany after they already in Bosnia. You know how you got to get housed. I already had housing, everything when I got there. But I don't want you to think he just did that for Griff. He did that for everybody. If JD Sparks was to tell any one of them soldiers in that formation to run into a wall, they would just run into the wall. They wouldn't even question it because they knew that he had their best interests at heart. And so for me, a great leader is the one that does more than just show up when stuff is going good. This dude was there with us through the good times and the bad times. And I don't want to seem like he ain't never, because it was a couple of times I didn't shave or nothing like that. That joker say, hey, I think you need to go shave. He ain't cussed me out. I thought he was playing at first. He said, I think you really need to go shave. Hey, I put them dominoes down. I went and shaved and came on back. But that's what I call a great leader. A great leader is somebody that goes above and beyond. They do the things that's not required to ask to them when it comes to taking care of people. And there's one thing I learned is people don't remember what you say or do, but they do remember how you make them feel. And so that guy taught me, every soldier that I came in contact with from that point on, think about what I'm getting ready to do, how it's gonna make them feel. Even if we at night court and there's an Article 15 about to get, still when a soldier walked out of that Article 15, they knew first sergeant or the commander wasn't attacking them. We was attacking the infraction. And they still was a soldier in that organization. They still got treated with dignity and respect.
That's a big one.
That for me, that's the definition. I knew it, and I went, gave that long Sergeant Major story, but that's the difference between a good and a great leader to me.
That's a good one.
No, so I'm glad you did, because now I can take that and clip it, and we can use that for something down the road.
That's true.
And I can send you that video and audio, because you told that story.
That was a good response. Hey, I thought you were still in the seat for a minute. I was about to tighten up. He's about to tighten. Hey, where my clippers at?
Look, man. Look, man. People always give me credit about things I did, man, but I couldn't have done none of the things I did without I was blessed during my military career. I just got to say it. I was blessed. At almost every level. I ain't gonna say I didn't have bad leaders, but those bad leaders taught me what not to do. And it's all about, y'all talked about perspective and mindset. It's all about perspective. You know, you can learn. Matter of fact, I think I learned more from the bad leaders than I did from the good leaders, because the bad leaders taught me what not to do. Jamie said execution makes a good leader. Having vision with execution separates the great ones. Being able to see the things others don't, understand the big picture, and being able to paint
That's
it
true.
so everyone can see it. I think that guy might be in a group called the Council, man. I don't know. He might be in this circle of council guys, man. You got to watch that dude Jamie.
Hey,
Right on
good
time.
people. What you
That's my
what you got, Mr. Harris? What's your take?
He said it so well. I mean, I agree with a lot that Griff said, because from my experience, I led by the way I was raised, and I was raised to treat everybody with respect. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother and my grandfather raised me since I was a few days old. And so all of my initial discipline was how my grandmother treated people and how she taught me to treat others. So I can say that, and then growing up, I played sports. And so I learned a lot of discipline all the way to how to say just a prayer or anything like that. I learned that at football practice. And then as I kind of developed into playing football and things like that, showing respect and then working with a team, it only got better once I got to the military. And just being able to see people from different walks of life prior to coming into the military, and then entering the military and seeing the same thing, but in a position where I can actually make an effect, where people actually follow me. And I just treated them with the same level of respect that I was given growing up, the same level of respect that my grandmother told me to teach, to act towards anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So before I came in the Army, I spoke, I'm Southern. I spoke with respect in every sentence. I always left open the door for someone, not just a woman. Someone is behind me. That's just natural. When you're from Alabama, that's how we
roll
do
tide,
it. So
roll tide, baby, roll tide.
yeah, I actually went to Baltimore one time and said, "What's up?" They said, "What's up with what?" I'm like, okay, I tell people that all the time because I'm from down south. I have Southern hospitality, and so I walk in, I'm like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? How everybody doing?" I went up to Baltimore, and they was looking at me like, "Yeah, this dude right here tripping." So being in the military, that's how I approached it. I approach people where they are. And I always had this same voice. Like, they said, "Man, you sound so cool," but that was just me speaking to someone with respect. And then I always look at things from the perspective of the underdog, because I've been there before. And I always like to see people, overcome whatever that situation is that they're in. I like that comeback story. So, I was the person to see a soldier on extra duty, and I'll go over there and talk to him, and actually from experience, this female told me that I saved her life like that. And it wasn't because I had any intentions on doing that. I saw her on extra duty, and I didn't actually know her infraction, but I knew that when she got in trouble, she felt real bad about it because she was a good NCO and she made a mistake. And so we all have those experiences, but it really hit her because she loved what she did. And then that happened, and now she's embarrassed in front of the organization. So I was walking out, I think I was on staff duty, and I saw her. And you know how it is. Sometimes when you get in trouble, people stop talking to you. All over the organization, your leadership, you could be the best thing yesterday, boy. You get in trouble, everybody walk right past you. And she said that, well, I saw her and I said, well, let me go say something, because sometimes on the other perspective is like, you kind of see somebody's like, nah, I don't want to bother them. I don't know. I don't want to be nosy. Maybe they taking time to deal with it. So I walked over there and I say, hey, how you doing? I'm just checking on you. I know something happened, but you don't have to talk about it. I'm just seeing how you were doing. And she's like, to be honest, you're the only person that came over here to talk to me. She had been doing extra duty for, a period of time. So everybody else just look at me and they kind of walk past me. And, she was saying that she had been contemplating some other things. And that's something that she had never done. but because of that situation, and then the isolation that you receive when you go through UCMJ, because if you haven't been there, it's one thing to go to a UCMJ reading or the discipline with someone, and it's not you on the red carpet. You sit to the right of them or the left of them, and it's like everything gonna be all right. It's another thing to stand on that red carpet, and then it's another perspective to be the leadership to give someone that discipline that you actually care about that person yourself, but you have to step out and you have to hold a certain position because that infraction requires discipline. And so I've been on every end of that. And she specifically told me, like, man, I'm glad you came over because, I just been feeling bad. And all I'm doing here for all these hours is thinking about what I did wrong. I don't have any friends. So you just got to go down there and do the right thing and meet people where they are. Because we have conscience, and it'll tell you, hey, go over there and say something to that person. And a lot of times we choose to do the other thing, and you never know what kind of effect it may have on someone, no matter what they did or what they have going on, just being human and not being robotic. That's my approach.
Well, hey, Griff talked about JD Sparks, and Griff is my JD Sparks. I've had so many great examples of leadership, and Griff has always been at the center of that. Like I've met so many great leaders through him alone. Like I had the opportunity to meet Sergeant Major Gene McKinney. And when I tell you, I've only met two people like Sergeant Major McKinney, and one of them is sitting here on the screen right now. The other one was Sergeant Major McKinney. Like, just the way y'all carry yourselves, the love for education that you have, how you push people, the way you talk about leadership, the way you build environments, the way you build teams. Like, in my experience, like I've had lots of great leaders, but y'all are up there. Y'all are too. That's it. It's you and him. And I appreciate it. I feel like the characteristics that I've seen from the two of y'all.
That's true.
And I've known you way longer than I've known Sergeant Major McKinney, SMA McKinney. But just the characteristics that I've gotten from the two of you have really helped me determine the difference in between a good leader, a not so great leader, and an exceptional leader. Like y'all are the standard, y'all are the mold. Like I said, I've had so many great leaders coming up through the ranks. Like First Sergeant Allen is one of them. Like he was my first sergeant when I was in Korea. Like we used to always talk trash about him because he the cool dude. Like he is so cool. Like he got his creases and everything in, but he just got this swagger about him that nothing bothers him. And he got a plan for everything, and everything always go through, and he just always got a pulse on what's going on. But like I said, Griff, you definitely my JD Sparks. You were definitely my JD Sparks.
You trying to make me cry over here, man.
Hey, it's true, bro. It's true, man. I witnessed it too firsthand. We didn't, we didn't come to school and didn't know who was gonna lead us. That's the thing about it. So my perspective is the same way, and we came from two different places. And one thing I would like to include from what Oz was saying is that sometimes as a leader, you don't realize who's watching you. And from that perspective, specifically, him and I was watching you when you were just doing your thing, you were leading. And so it was so much, or I guess the example was so good to where, what is this, 13, 14 years later, the outcome of two of your students and then us being on a podcast talking about leadership. So that's the long-term effect of what we saw in you specifically. Because if it wasn't good, we wouldn't be here, And we didn't
man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Y'all,
hey, I wouldn't have got an invite to come on the screen. Don't let that dude come over here.
That's for real, and that's just how I see it. It's like that's also a definition. That could be the answer right there too.
No, I appreciate it, man. But again, I could never take what I consider to be
a great leader is a great leader create other leaders, man. They don't create other followers. They create other leaders. And for you to say I'm your JD Sparks, that just make me want to call JD Sparks and say I did what I was supposed to do. That's because that's what it's all about. You know,
Yeah.
I told Green, and I think I told you this too, Gary. Look, it's about building the bench, man, the next generation. You know, 3 leaders, and when I do my next book, it's 3 leaders that I'm gonna talk about. It's Stepson Harris that I had when I was a young private, JD Sparks, and Sultan A. Muhammad. Everything that y'all got from me, I got that from them. You know, I could have easily not absorbed the things that they had, but I took a little bit of each one of them and made it my own. I wasn't copycat because look, you know, some people are afraid to even walk up to Muhammad. I'm gonna tell you, one of the best leaders I ever had in my life was Sultan A. Muhammad. And I'm gonna tell you, here's a guy, when I first met him, I definitely didn't think he liked me, but this one I learned it's a difference between leadership and likership. Because when we was in Iraq, he was my brigade sergeant major when I was a first sergeant. And it was like I had a quartermaster company. So I had probably a third of the brigade's mission. I owned the class 1 yard, I owned 3 buck fuel farms, water purification plant. I had it all. And so when Muhammad came in, he was everywhere, always on me. And so when he came and visited the first time, I owned all that stuff. But when they came back to be there permanently, most of that stuff I ripped to her with Brown and Root. And so he was always in my area, man. And you know, all the first sergeants know when he coming to see me. So these jokers scatter like roaches when the lights come on. They already know who he coming to see. And so one day I was like, man, I had to talk with this first sergeant. I'm like, man, why does this guy always on me? All the first sergeants we got, why is he always on me? He said, well, look around. Let's point out all the first sergeants in the brigade. Yep, this one right here getting ready to get relieved. This one right here, you know, they talking about something happening to him, whatever. He said, Muhammad don't believe in everybody. Everybody should be afforded your time. Perspective changed from that point on. The relationship I had with this dude, I remember when I got most of the stuff that y'all had at Fort Lee when y'all came through school was because of Muhammad. Because when I got the ALC ordinance, I was the very first person in ALC ordinance. I ain't even have no instructors. I ain't have nothing. So I had to rely on the ordinance school who did not own the NCO Academy. The NCO Academy fell on a CASCOM. I had to rely on the help of Sergeant Major Muhammad to ensure that I had instructors and equipment to even facilitate the courses. It was just me, Lopez, and Jones, and Chandralas, I think. Chandralas and Hodge came in, but that was it. But I was the first person in ALC ordinance. But anytime I asked Muhammad to come over and speak, he spoke. I asked him, I remember when we had our first NCO Academy combined dining in, he was the only regimental command sergeant major that he came off of TDY to ensure that he was there. And to this day that we retired, I can expect at least a phone call or a text message from him at least once or twice a month, just to check on me and see how I'm doing. And so that's what I do. You know, either Green calling me, or if I ain't got heard from him a while, guess what? He know he getting a phone call from me. And again, you model the behavior that you want to see. And that was always my goal. I never said people was my subordinates. I had conversation with 2 of my former first sergeants today. It was always an honor to serve alongside, not you serve for me. And before they even talked about the term servant leadership, you know, that is a phrase now, but I knew what servant leadership was way before people started talking about it. And that's like what you said, what your grandparents taught you, just how to treat people. You know, if you just treat people the way you want to be treated, man, you can be very successful as a leader. It ain't hard. To me, I never found leadership being hard. If you was to be yourself, you be authentic and not try to be something that you wouldn't. Because if you try to be something that you're not, you're going to get exposed. I was just me. Hey, I was this loud joke out there with this gold tooth that taught country's hair from Alabama. But trust and believe, because Muhammad taught me, hey, you still supposed to be the smartest person in the room, even if you don't say nothing. He taught me that. And so, man,
That's true.
y'all brothers made me feel pretty good. I can sleep good tonight, man.
Yeah. That's
Feel like I got an early
So
Christmas present.
let's
That's
do
true,
this.
man.
Let's do this before we get off, right? I would like for like each one of us to like give maybe 2 to 3 points to like some mentees that's looking for a mentor, like do's and don'ts. And
Okay.
then we'll go into our closing comments and we'll wrap it up. You know, and hey, not so gray beard, we're gonna let you go first, you know, because you are
I let
our
you.
role model out here. Go ahead and go ahead
No,
and go.
man,
Go ahead and go.
I want to let y'all go, man, because just in case, because I don't want to, like how they say, man, you just took the words out my mouth. No, I want, because I'm pretty sure whatever y'all say, I can give some other topics, man. So I done talked enough, man. I want to hear what y'all brothers got to say. I appreciate that, though.
Go ahead, my brother.
Okay. Yeah. Some things I would like to leave with, soldiers that's looking for mentees or just some advice. Number one is to develop your own character and your own way of leadership. One thing is, no one can tell you how to be the leader that you want to be. They can give you advice and show you how they did it, and they can give you tools, books to read, but basically everyone is going to lead in their own way. And so as you look around, grab different things from other leaders and put those into your toolbox, and then begin to develop your character on how exactly you want to lead by what's important to you and what you think that your message is going to be as you're leading your subordinates. And then for those, I've seen a lot of people online that, decide that they want to get out the military or they don't like the military. And the things that I want to speak on about that particularly is that look into the military and see why you serve. Why do you serve in the military? Why did you come in? Because I think that once you find that answer there, then you're going to determine why are you here, and where you're going with, what you're doing every day. And if you find out that that is not something that you're passionate about anymore, then it may be time for you to look around and transition. But if you find out why you're serving, and then you can also begin to understand where you want to go, versus looking at every negative aspect that's out there. Because if you follow a train of people that's negative, they're going to send you in a negative direction. Now, just associate with positive individuals and those that are doing something with their career. And more than likely, it's going to help you understand what you want to do and, motivate you throughout your career. So.
All right. I just wrote down a couple things. So first thing is this. People want to hear from you, right? Like your bosses, people that have a higher station than you, they want to hear from you. They're not that busy. They are busy, but they're never that busy that they don't want to hear from you. I know a lot of times, and my brother said it earlier, Gary said it earlier. He was like, you kind of feel like you're bothering people. That's one of my takeaways from my time in service. Like battalion commanders, sergeant majors, like these people, they want to hear from you. Like, yes, they have things going on, but they don't want you to just not come around. Like that, one of my battalion commanders told me that. He said, man, when he was leaving, he's like, I wish we would have spent more time together. He's like, I know you got your thing you were doing in the motor pool, and I got my thing I'm doing over here. But he was like, I really wish I had gotten to spend more time with you. So that's one. Like, people want to hear from you. So don't be afraid to reach out to that mentor. The second thing is this. Find somebody who you respect that has credentials that you want. Now, what I mean by that is like me and Gary talked about Griff, right? His presence. He had presence and he was present, right? So his presence was what he projected to everybody else, who he was, how he did things, where he was. His present, like when he was present, he was there. You knew he was in the room, and it wasn't because he was yelling and screaming. It was the level of professionalism and care that he brought to everybody that was in the room. So find somebody who you respect, that has the credentials that you have. And look, those mentors ain't gonna always look like you. They're not gonna always look like you. You need to have all different types of mentors because you're going to learn different stuff from all of them. And the last thing is this: do the work. Don't waste your mentor's time. If somebody is willing to share their precious time, time is the one resource that we can't make any more of. If they're willing to share that time with you, have your crap together when you call them. When you call them with a purpose, have an outline, know what you want to talk about. And one thing that I'm big on is like, I've got a whole lot of people within my circle, my small little circle, that have resources, and they try to give me things to help me out. Mark being one. And the thing that I told him was that I'm setting up this business, and he was trying to link me up with some folks to help me expedite the process. But what I told him was this: I want to do my part first before I reach out to this person to be a mentor in this area, because I don't want to waste their time. I understand that they do what they do at a very high level, and they don't have a whole lot of time to waste. So anything that I can figure out for myself, I want to get my crap together. And then the things that I can't figure out, that's where the mentor comes in. Because when you look at a mentor's job is to provide resources, be able to do an assessment of your skill level, and then also point you to coaches and teachers who can help you sharpen those things. Once you go through that process and you come back to the mentor does another assessment, and they determine what your next steps are going to be. But you got to put the work in first. So don't waste your mentor's time. Know what it is that you want to do, know where you want to go, and they're going to be there to guide you. And that's what I got.
Man, shucks. Good thing that I got man, here, y'all hit a whole bunch of spots, man. So let me go ahead so I don't belabor this thing. Have a plan. Have a plan for you and your mentor. Again, oftentimes people looking for somebody to reach out to them and say, I'm gonna be your mentor. No, not only do you reach out to somebody and ask them to be your mentor, but have a plan. Why do you want me to be your mentor? All right, because I think that's truly important. Find someone that's going to help you get to where you're trying to go, and not try to make you a mini-me. Because it's some mentors that don't get it either. You know, because it's some mentors that get upset because, hey, I gave this to you and you didn't do this and you didn't do that, and then all of a sudden the relationship is fractured. The responsibility of a mentor is to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, but also not get upset and get mad if you don't do what they tell you to do. The reason why you need to have a plan, because like what Rich said, you know, the most valuable resource you're going to ever have is time. And that's something that you won't be able to get back. And so as you look for that mentor, make sure make sure that you can deposit into that mentor just as much as that mentor can deposit into you. I learn a lot from my mentees. I mean, my mentees, the people that I mentor, that they actually taught me things that I didn't know. So I'm always looking to learn some as well. And then ensure that you continue to educate yourself. I like to use the analogy of a car on the side of the road. If you sit inside that car, waiting for somebody to come help you, the people just gonna keep on driving by. But if you get out that car and you try to push that car to the side of the road, eventually somebody gonna stop and help you push that vehicle. It's people that want to help you, but they got to know you're gonna help yourself first. And so that's what I want to leave, because oftentimes people be waiting on people to come help them. Well, you know what? I'm a country boy from Alabama. One closed mouths don't get fed. And you got to show me. You got to show me that my time is valuable. Because like I said, I learned that from Muhammad. Everybody is not afforded my time. As much as I would like to give everybody my time, every time I say yes to somebody, I'm saying no to something else that could really mean something for me. So, but when I mentor, I'm committed to it, man. I help people. I try to help people get to where they're trying to go. So I turn the table or my time back over to the distinguished gentleman on the screen.
Hey, with our closing comments, we'll start with you. We'll go to Gary. I'll close this out, and then we'll wrap this up.
Hey, man, I just want to say thank y'all for allowing me to get on here, man. You know, I'm retired, but I'm not expired, man. For all those that's still out there serving, that's watching this, man, I love and I appreciate y'all. I understand there's some trying times, but hey, trying times don't do nothing but make people stronger. I would tell you, I served under several different administrations. And at the end of the day, most of the things that you see on TV and stuff didn't affect what was going on down in that formation. The leaders that I had affected what went on in that formation. So the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody out there, especially if you're in a leadership position, focus on your piece of the pie. Green heard me say this thousands of times. Focus on your piece of the pie. Focus on the things that you can control. And don't worry about the stuff that's the uncontrollables, the things you don't have control. And everything gonna be all right. All right. So thank y'all again, gentlemen, for the kind words that y'all said about a brother. Hey, I just always want to make Miss Paulette proud. But I thank y'all, and I turn it back over again to y'all distinguished
No, you forgot something. Where the book at?
Oh man, I wasn't trying to say nothing.
Come on now.
Come
on now.
Look,
mine in the other room.
I got my copy, man.
Look, I wasn't trying to say nothing. But see, again, the reason why this book was written because of guys like Green, man. You know, again, I learned from other people. Great leaders don't have to be the smartest person, but I would, hey, if you want to go out there and get something, go ahead and get this. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
I enjoyed writing this book. Green was one of the people I sent my book to and got feedback from him or whatever. I ain't afraid to admit that. Great leaders not afraid to ask for help. You know, I don't know where this thing come from where, you know, you can't ask people for help or assistance. If you don't know, you don't know. That's the sign of a great leader, to acknowledge that they have blind spots or don't know something, and they reach out to people that do. And so again, to be a great leader, you have to know that you don't have all the answers, and as long as you know how to reach out and talk to the people that do, you're going to be okay, because not only you going to benefit from it, but the people that you serve are going to benefit from it too. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to show my book. I definitely didn't come on here to sell no books. You know me, I just love to feed, man. I love to feed in, man. Like Denzel Washington said. What Denzel Washington said, you ain't never seen a U-Haul in a funeral procession. I can't take none of this stuff with me. I can't take none of this stuff with me, man. And if one thing come out of my mouth that can help somebody out, then hey, so be it. That's what it's all about.
My brother, what you got? Closing remarks.
Man, I would say this, you know, the military taught me a lot of things. And I know that now that I've transitioned out, I use a lot of my skills that I learned in the military to be successful. So no matter where you go, a lot of the stuff that you're doing right now is going to make you either a great leader inside the military or a great leader after the military. And more importantly, don't let anyone tell you not to get your education. Don't let anyone tell you to wait to get a certification, because one big thing I learned after I transition is that if you wait to get a certification, that's less experience you have with the certification. So for instance, let's say it's a project management certification that's pretty popular. Go ahead and get that project management certification while you're in the military. The military is going to pay for it. And then from the day that you receive your certification until you decide to apply for a job, that's how much experience you have with that certification. So that's just a different perspective that I have, that they told me differently while I was in. Hey, wait till you get out to get those certifications. You'll have time, right? And then you get to your new job and they say, how long you had this certification? Well, I just got it last week because I just retired. It's like, well, so you're an amateur. You're an amateur with that certification and you haven't been using it, or a practitioner for a 5 to 6 year, 3-year period of time. So since you're an amateur, that means that you're going to get into an amateur position, and which equals amateur pay. So just take that advice out there for someone who transitioned out versus what we heard. In order to get out, you also got to talk to people that's outside the military. Because that's actually, people inside the military typically don't know what's going on. They think they know, but you don't know what you don't know. And people that's already transitioned out can tell you exactly what to do and how to do it from real life experience, not what they heard.
Message.
Hey, put that on a t-shirt.
Message.
Hey, did you learn some of that too?
Message.
Put that on a t-shirt.
All right,
let me go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. So first thing is this: 75% of your success is going to be based upon the power of purposeful practice, right? 75% of your success is based off of homework. What you do. A teacher's job is to expose you to 25%, the stuff you don't know. That's a teacher's job. I wish I had learned that earlier in my life. I learned it later in life, and now I'm using it. I wish somebody had just sat me down and said, "Hey, look, what you do for homework is gonna be 75% of how successful you are, because somebody's gonna show you something, and then what you do with it on your own is gonna determine how great you become or how not great you become." There's that.
Right.
The last thing is this. Look, somebody once told me that attitudes were contagious like colds. And they also told me the one thing that you can control is your attitude. So the question that I give to all leaders is this: is your attitude worth catching? And with that, we're going to catch y'all next time.